Race switch. We're in University Heights in San Diego, a low-income area consisting mainly of minorities. It was Saturday and Ellis and his younger brother Kyrie left the house and began walking toward the bruised white 2015 Honda that had just pulled up. It was their mother, Vanessa. She had just gotten off from work while Ellis babysat. Now it was Ellis's turn to go to work. The boys get in the car and they head off. "You don't have to rush, Mama. We got time," Ellis said. "Oh, okay. Just want to make sure you're not late. So how you like working at the barbershop?" "It's all right. Just be cleaning up mostly. They say I gotta go to school to cut and that costs too much money." "Well, maybe you can get one of them scholarships. You'll be graduating in a few weeks anyway." Yes, ma'am. I was looking into it, but couldn't find nothing. That's why I'm saving up now. You thought about what school you wanted to go to?" "I'll probably end up going to San Diego Community College to start off. I think I can get a grant or something. That's what I've been talking to the guidance counselor about. She said she'll help me with it. I almost got enough money for a car, though. That way you and Dad won't have to be driving me around." "Oh, no, you know I don't mind. Just can't tonight 'cause I gotta work." "Why? You usually don't work on Saturday night." "Well, you know the Palm Trees got that big playoff game. It's gonna be a lot of people and they say they need everybody. Hopefully them people bring tips. So you're gonna have to catch the bus back." "Oh, that's right. I was supposed to be going with Herbert and the rest of them to one of their houses to see it. We might stop by after." "Okay, you want me to fix you a plate before I go to work?" "Oh, no, ma'am. I'll just eat at the game." "Who watching Kyrie?" "Well, your Aunt Yvonne said she can watch him and I'll pick him up in the morning." "Alondra gonna be there tonight?" "No, ma'am. She gotta work, but I'll talk to her after." "She's still at the inn and out down the street from the house?" "Yes, ma'am, but since we about to graduate, you know she'll probably start school full time. She got a full scholarship at San Diego University." "Oh, that's good. I told you that girl was smart. I'm so glad y'all got together." Ellis and Alondra had been dating for about a year. Vanessa pulled to the side in front of a shabby-looking storefront on University Ave that read, "Best Cuts Central." Ellis hopped out, thanked his mother after giving her a kiss on the cheek, grabbed his bag and made his way inside. Although his main job was to clean up, his boss and the owner of the barbershop, Clyde, would occasionally allow him to do simple haircuts on the side if it became too busy. Aside from this, he was just happy to be a part of the class of 2025. Around the same time on Mission Beach near Belmont Park, Jason sat with his girlfriend Olivia Beckett. She stood far below where he sat as they spoke. His eyes scanned across the waves at the many bodies shuffling within them. He had been volunteering as a lifeguard for over a year, knowing that it would look good on his application for San Diego State. He only did it on Saturdays for about 4 hours, so it didn't eat too much into his free time. "I'm so ready for this year to be over," Olivia said. "Yeah, me too," Jason replied. "Are you still going to intern for the paper after graduation?" "Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm going to major in journalism and it'll look good on my application, and the editor already told me that after a year or two I can start at the entry level." "Didn't your dad help you get that job?" "Yeah, well, he's friends, I guess, with one of the main editors, so that helped." "I still can't believe you don't want to come with me to UCLA. "I get it. We grew up here, but I need something different." "We go to LA all the time. What's different about that? Besides, I'll still get to see you all the time. It's not like you'll be living in Vegas," he replied. "Besides, it's closer to the newspaper. I can't write about what's going on in San Diego if I live in LA. "Yeah, I get it. But I want to see you on more than just weekends, babe. We've been together for 2 years. We should be spending more time together, not less." "Then go to San Diego State with me." "Ah," she groaned. "Why do you have to be so difficult? I swear ever since your dad bought you that Tesla truck for your birthday, you've been so ugh." "I could say the same thing about that Birkin bag," he replied, pointing. "Oh, shut up. What's the first thing you want to do when we graduate?" "Marry you," he smiled. Let's make it through prom first," she smirked, grabbing his ankle and looking toward the horizon. Prom was only a few weeks away, and Jason couldn't decide on what gift to give her. This would be the last prom they'd experience, so it would have to be special. "Are we still going to the game tonight?" "If the Lakers win, I'll fuck you like it's the prom already," she said. "In that case, I hope they win too. I mean, I did anyway, but yeah, I'll pick you up at 6. Jesse and the guys will be there too." The game had gone into double overtime between the Los Angeles Lakers and the San Diego Palm Trees. Everyone in the city was happy because in their first year of existence, they had made the playoffs and were already up 2. Fortunately, they won the game, and Jason and his friends, along with Olivia, decked out in all their Lakers gear, had to take the walk of shame from the stands to his Tesla truck. Ellis and his friends were overjoyed after watching at one of their homes, which contained an 85-inch television. They continued their celebration at Kelly's, the restaurant Ellis's parents worked. They sat at a table near the entrance and ate and laughed as they recapped the game before the entrance opened. Ellis looked over to see Jason and his group walk in. "Oh," the restaurant said, almost in unison when they saw the Laker jerseys and hats. "Y'all look goofy as hell," Herbert said. "It's our first year and we beat y'all. Go to a golf tournament or something and leave basketball to us." "Hey, did you guys just come from robbing a liquor store?" Jason's friend Shane asked. "Stop," Olivia pleaded. "Nah, my alibi was your mom's house," Herbert replied, invoking the laughter of not only Ellis's group, but the whole restaurant as well. "The fuck did you just say, bitch?" Shane asked, leading his group's approach. "Boy, who you calling a bitch?" Herbert jumped up and asked. The groups met face to face while people pulled out their phones not to call the police, but of course instead record while Vanessa ran to the back to get Curtis the cook, which was her husband and Ellis's father. "You're the only boy I see. Say something about my mom again," Herbert said. "Nah, hold on," Ellis interjected. "We ain't trying to do all that. Y'all made it personal." "Oh, because you're black?" Jason asked. Shortly after, Herbert took a swing at Jason and the two groups began to fight while Olivia tries to pull Jason away. Just then, Ellis took a swing at Jason, who had seen him and ducked, before delivering a haymaker to the side of Ellis's ear, leaving it ringing. Simultaneously, a large flash of lightning seemed to come out of nowhere and hit the ground outside with so much ferocity that everyone in the restaurant momentarily stopped before Ellis hit Shane with an uppercut that nearly dropped him. Curtis then came out from the back along with a few of the other waiters and cooks, who eventually managed to break up the fight. "Babe, can we please leave?" Olivia begged, pulling on Jason's arm. As Jason's group stormed out, so did Ellis's. After following both out the doors, ensuring they didn't fight in the parking lot, Curtis stopped Ellis. "Hey, the rest of y'all can go on," he yelled to his son's friends. "He not coming with you. I need to talk to him. Y'all can leave now." The friends got in the car and drove off, leaving Ellis to the wrath of his father. "Boy, what the hell is wrong with you?" Curtis asked, getting in Ellis's face. "You want to embarrass me and your mama at the damn job?" Ellis looked at him blankly, unable to answer. "Oh, you don't want to talk. You want to fight, right?" he asked. "Well, hell, fight me," he challenged, taking a stance. "I don't want to fight you, Dad," Ellis finally said. "They were just saying—" "I don't give a damn what the hell they were saying," he interrupted. "If you want to fight, don't do it at our damn job, or it'll be the last time you do. Do you understand me?" "Yes, sir," Ellis answered. "Good," Curtis exhaled. "I love you, son," he said, outstretching his arms, and the two hugged before Curtis turned around to go inside. "I'm glad the Lakers got their butt whooped, though," Curtis looked back and joked. "Me too. I had money on that game, Dad," Ellis laughed. "Shit, me too," Curtis muttered to himself as he re-entered the restaurant. Ellis was left to wait at the bus stop. He thought about calling his friends to come back and pick him up, but knew that his dad probably meant for him to take the bus as a punishment, and if he had seen Ellis get picked up, his night probably wouldn't have gone peacefully, despite him being a senior in high school. After the incident, as Jason drove back with Olivia, he saw blue lights behind them. "Fuck," he said as his girlfriend looked before turning back around and rolling her eyes. "I hope it isn't about the bullshit at the restaurant," Jason continued as he pulled over. The officer walked up to Olivia's side and flashed his bright light inside the car. She rolled down her window and he looked in while Jason began to give his information. "Oh, Jason Talbert?" he asked, smiling. "That you?" Jason was taken aback before saying, yeah, I'm sorry. Was I speeding or... "Oh, no, man. Here, take it. I don't need that," he said before handing Jason's information back. "I know you. Hell of a season last year. Almost made state." "Oh, I appreciate that," Jason replied. "Yeah, you graduating this year?" he asked. "Hate to see you go. Lord knows pitchers are hard to come by." "Yes, sir, but I'll still be in the city." "Good. Drove by your folks' new house yesterday. Man, that thing's massive. Yeah, even though we moved in a few months ago, I still get lost, Jason joked. The officer laughed before saying, "Yeah, I'm sure. Well, look, I'm sorry to take so much of your time, but we got a call about an incident at a restaurant saying they saw your car leaving, and since you're one of the only ones in the city who has this car, I gotta ask, did you see anything?" Yeah, we got into it with some guys back there about the game. Wasn't anything serious, though. Yeah, I didn't think so. You remember what they looked like? Yeah, they were just some black kids wearing San Diego's colors. Well, like I said, I'm glad you guys are okay. Yeah, we really appreciate that, Jason said. Shortly after the officer left Jason and Olivia, the same one ran into Ellis walking home in the new winning team's colors. Pulling up behind him and flashing his lights, he ordered Ellis to pull over with his speakerphone. The officer approached him, hand on his weapon, as Ellis threw his hands up and asked, "What's up, bro? What's going on?" "You know what's going on. Turn around and put your hands behind your back," he ordered. "Man, what is this about?" he asked after being patted down, cuffed, and ID'd. "You don't ask me shit. I ask the questions. Do you understand me?" Ellis leaned his back against the police car, trying to ignore the pain in his wrists, and said, "Yes, sir. I just don't know what's going on." "Yeah, I bet. Y'all never do, huh? Everything's a surprise." Ellis squinted his eyes and drew back before the officer continued. "Hey, where'd you just come from?" he asked. "What you mean where I just came from? I came from watching the game. You see what I'm wearing?" "Sure you weren't just at Kelly's with some of your buddies?" "Yeah, my parents work there," he answered, knowing where this was going. I'm sure. Why you and your friends out here causing trouble, fighting people in restaurants?" "Man, we ain't starting nothing. We was just eating." "Yeah, well, hang tight here while I check some stuff out," he said before putting Ellis in the back seat of his cruiser. After confirming that his parents did work there and that no one wanted to press charges, he removed and uncuffed Ellis. "All right, you're good," the officer said. "Hurry up and get home." Ellis sucked his teeth and began to walk away before turning around and asking, "Oh, and hey, what's your name and badge number?" "Wheeler, 4156. "Would you like to take a picture?" he asked, holding his badge and smiling. Yeah, stay there," Ellis responded before obliging. As he walked home, he couldn't help but wish things were different. Jason and Olivia lay in his huge bed together later that night and cuddle. He lived in a huge home his father owned in the affluent community of Mission Hills in San Diego. "Those guys were jerks," Olivia said, laying her head on his chest. "Yeah, but they were fast jerks. Kinda sucks, though. I like that restaurant." "Yeah, and Shane was ridiculous," she added. "Yeah, but those dudes started riding us as soon as we came in." "True," she said, sitting up. "I gotta get home." "Oh, you're not spending the night?" he asked, also sitting up. "Can't. Got finals to study for." "So do you," she said, getting dressed. "Yeah, but it's not that hard. Too bad the Lakers didn't win tonight. I'd take you up on that promise," he said, jumping up and hugging her from behind. "Ugh, don't remind me." Meanwhile, Ellis lay in his bed talking to Alondra, his girlfriend. His parents were renting a 3-bedroom apartment in the semi-ghetto that is University Heights. "I can't believe they called y'all boy," Alondra said. "They always want to get racist." "Yeah, but I can't lie. Herbert was wildin'," Ellis admitted. "I'm just mad it happened at the restaurant. Dad was so mad." "I mean, at least y'all ain't do a lot of damage. What you doing tomorrow?" "Probably go to church then. Nothing really." "Why, what's up?" "You want to go see a movie? I think I can get my sister to let me hold her car. If not, I can just meet you there," she suggested. "Shit, I'm down," he agreed. "What you doing right now?" "What you mean what I'm doing right now? I'm laying down," she laughed. "Shoot, what you wearing?" "What you mean what I'm wearing?" "Like what you wearing?" he giggled. "Boy, a t-shirt and panties." "Send me a picture," he asked. "Of what?" "You know what. I want a picture." "You gonna send me one too?" she asked. "Hell yeah." "Alright, you first and then I will," she promised. "Alright, don't be lying." "Boy, ain't nobody lying." "Alright, I'ma send it." "Okay, good night," she said. "Good night," he replied before hanging up and quickly fulfilling her request. Ellis waited several minutes for Alondra to fulfill her part of the promise, but was so tired he fell asleep, phone in hand. The next morning, Ellis woke up to the band Creed playing as the alarm on his phone. Confused, he reached for it, almost having a heart attack when he saw the color of his white skin. What the fuck, he wondered. His heart raced as he ripped off his shirt and jumped out of bed. Not only were his arms, but his whole body was white. Wait, he thought before tearing off his underwear and looking down. No! He screamed as his hand began to shake. He had hoped to be still asleep as he raced around the large, unfamiliar bedroom adorned with baseball caps and gaming products. Whoever's room this was had a lot more money than he did, noticing the desktop and brand new PlayStation 6. Ellis rushed to one of the 3 doors in the room, opening it only to see a huge walk-in closet filled with clothing, most of which he'd never wear. He opened the next door and it led to a long hallway. He could see from the inside balcony that he was upstairs. Then in a flash, something began running up the stairs. It was a black Labrador retriever that stopped in its tracks, sliding as it struggled to not hit the open door frame. The dog looked curiously at Ellis, then began to bark before he slammed the door shut. His breath quickened as he swung open the last door, finding what he had been looking for. Leaping inside and in front of the mirror, Ellis was shocked. He didn't have any disease that made him albino overnight. No, he actually was a completely different white person. What the... I can't believe... What? He realized he knew the boy that was looking back at him in the mirror. Around that same time, Jason awoke to an unfamiliar smell as he opened his eyes to an even more unfamiliar sight. The aroma of bacon, grits, and eggs pervaded his nostrils as he began to sit up. Not so fast. He felt different. The morning wood he was so accustomed to even felt different as he reached down and grabbed it before yanking his hand back and lifting the covers to look under. It felt swollen, much larger than usual, and Jason immediately became suspicious of Olivia. "That's not my dick. These aren't my hands," he said, beginning to panic, even slapping himself 3 times in case he was dreaming. Jason jumped out of the bed, letting out a yelp after stepping on one of Kyrie's toys. I've got to find a bathroom, he thought, stumbling out of the small room and down the hall toward the kitchen smell. Spotting the halfway open door across the hall, Jason entered. Looking in the mirror, he touched his face as his forehead wrinkled. "No, no, no," were the only words he could say before tumbling to the ground. "Baby, you okay in there?" Vanessa asked, knocking on the door. "Hurry up and get ready. We leaving for church in 10 minutes, she concluded before walking away. Jason pulled himself back up to the mirror, taking several deep breaths as he wondered why one of the kids he got into a fight with last night was looking back at him. And if he's him, then who is Jason? And who is the lady that was yelling outside the door? But most importantly, why is the bathroom so small? "That's the same white boy from last night," Ellis said to himself upon seeing the reflection. "Bruh, what the fuck going on?" he wondered while looking around the massive bathroom that seemed to be his. He stepped out the main door and he was happy to see the pooch had scrammed. His heart raced and hands shook as he made his way down the long, wide hall. Looking out one of the many windows that aligned it, he saw that he was upstairs. A backyard that seemed to stretch for acres lay below as the fearsome Labrador roamed the perimeter. "This is a crazy dream," he thought, before turning and continuing to walk. "Hope it ain't CTE or nothing," he said to himself, while finally getting to the end of the hall after passing mahogany doors on the left he dared not to open. Before him lay a long, winding staircase leading to the first floor. He felt relieved by the silence of the home, proving no one else was there, and descended until his bare feet touched the large cold floor. Paintings adorned the massive walls, accompanied by an 80-inch mounted TV. He soon discovered, though, after continuing to walk, that this living room is accompanied by yet another larger one with even nicer furniture. As he entered the kitchen, he was amazed to see that it seemed bigger than the apartment his family lived in. Across one wall were large door windows that ran from end to end, and beyond was a perfect view of the backyard and the large pool nearby. Hungry? Just as Ellis was opening the refrigerator, he saw something move quickly out of his peripheral coming from that direction. It was the black lab. "How did he know I'm not him?" Ellis thought while realizing the vicious Mongol was headed his way at full speed. Ellis ran toward the doggy door opening, nearly falling along the way, just in time to close it. The lab growled, huffed and puffed, even trying to bite through the door before pawing at it as Ellis watched in horror. After putting a nearby air fryer in front of the door and being satisfied, Ellis opened the refrigerator and was amazed to see nothing he wanted. No sausage, no bacon, not even bread to make toasts. Well, there was bread, but it was some sort of fitness wheat bread, and as far as Ellis thought, you might as well be eating cardboard. Not that he was too picky. Don't these people eat breakfast? Not even cereal? Not even eggs? He wondered, ruffling through the collage of fruits, vegetables, and juices. Opening up one of the cabinets, a plethora of Whole Foods bags came out. Other cabinets held food mainly labeled plant-based, which was of no use to Ellis. The only plant he believed in was the one his mom said he couldn't try until he was 18 and had moved out. Even then, he wouldn't tell her he had already tried it for the first time last summer with Alondra, who got it from her uncle, or was it a cousin's? Anyway, Ellis opened the front door to look outside and was disappointed that it was a residential area, hence no restaurants or other food sources. I've got to travel, but how would I even pay for it? He asked himself before going back upstairs and into the room he woke up in. After minutes of searching, he finally found a wallet showing his new face along with a name, Jason Talbert. They both were the same age, 17, which Ellis expected, but what he didn't expect was that they shared the same birthday. He spotted something else he hadn't noticed before, a set of keys. After grabbing the keys and wallet, he heard a chime from what sounded like a cell phone. It was a brand new iPhone, but where was his? Shit, back at my house, he thought. The text was from someone named Olivia, although he couldn't see the message. After a few failed attempts with putting in a code, Ellis realized that it had facial recognition capability. Ain't no way, he thought, holding the phone up in front of his face. Voila, it worked. It actually worked. Not trying to be too intrusive, Ellis ignored the messages to the phone and went straight to the maps. Mission Hills? He asked himself, seeing his location. It was one of the most affluent places in California. Maybe that's why the house is so big, he wondered. After looking up the nearest fast food place, Ellis grabbed the keys, phone, and wallet and was about to leave the room before hearing something. It's coming from downstairs. The dog? No, he realizes that it's the front door opening. His heart raced as he edged his way back out of his new room and downstairs. It sounded like it was two people and he grew nervous. Once again descending the long stairwell and peeking around the corner, he saw a middle-aged white man entering, closing the door behind him. Stretching his head out further to investigate, he leaned forward. "Jason, what are you doing?" a woman's voice called out toward him from below. Ellis almost fell over before looking over to what appeared to be the man's wife. The couple looked at him with raised eyebrows as Ellis tried to compose himself. Sorry, I didn't know who was coming in," he said. "Are you high?" the man asked, taking a step forward and putting his hands on his hips. "We said only on special occasions and when we're present. Don't tell me Shane is back supplying his classmates again." "Oh, no, sir. Sorry. Just really tired." The couple looked at each other in confusion, only to be met with the same gaze from Ellis. "Okay, that's definitely the first time I've heard you say sir, baby, in a very long time, so there's definitely something off," the woman replied. "And why are you just standing up there? Come down here," the man ordered. "Yes, check his pupils," she added as Ellis obliged. These were Jason's parents, David and Christine Talbert. After being satisfied that their son wasn't high, Christine asked, "Where's Julius?" Ellis looked at her and squinted his eyes before shrugging his shoulders, feigning that he knew who she was referring to. Then barking began on the other side of the home where Ellis had locked out the beast. "Well, that answers your question," David said, taking a beer out of the refrigerator. "What the absolute hell?" Christine said, looking over toward the heavily fortified glass door and walking over along with David. Son, why'd you put all of this here?" David asked. "Oh, Julius is trying to get in," Christine said. "Wait, you locked him out?" I had to," Ellis replied. "What do you mean you had to?" she asked, bending down to move the items. "Wait, no," Ellis shouted, reaching out and startling her. "Son, what is going on with you?" David asked, drawing back. "Nothing. He was acting crazy and seemed like he was trying to bite me or something." "Bite you?" she asked. "Why would he bite you? You've had him since he was 4 months. I don't know. He was just acting crazy. I mean, look at him," he pointed. Julius gnashed and gnarled, biting against the door, trying to get in. "Oh, I hope it isn't anything serious." "We've got to get him to the vet," Christine said. "Are they open on Sundays?" David asked. "It might be rabies." "Oh, God, don't say that," she said, grabbing her keys and Julius's dog crate. David followed closely behind, saying, "Sorry, we'll be back soon, son." "Seemed fine with us," Christine told her husband on the car ride to the vet. "Yeah, maybe it's just Jason. Did you hear how he was speaking?" "I did notice that. He sure was acting strange," she said. "Hormones, honey. At least hopefully." Maybe we need to take him to a doctor," she responded. "Dr. Gears still goes to Mass, I think." A few minutes after they left and hitting the horn button to the keys he held in his hand, he located the vehicle parked further down the long driveway. Ellis almost dropped when he saw the metallic Tesla truck that looked more like a spaceship than anything anyone has ever driven on Earth. He couldn't believe it. After a few moments, he discovered how to get in, by using his fingerprint. The seats were huge, and he spent more than 20 minutes watching YouTube tutorials before feeling comfortable enough to take off. First of all, Ellis didn't even have a car. The only time he drove was when his mom forgot something at the store and didn't want to stop cooking. Even then, his dad would have had to have been at work for her to even consider asking him, and the store was 4 minutes away. He remained careful as he drove, going slightly above half the speed of all the cars around him. Not that you could hardly call this a car, as people looked, pointing, pulling their phones out to take pictures at every light, every stop sign. Ellis felt like a celebrity pulling into the In-N-Out Burger. All the employees asked him questions about the car as he gave him completely fabricated answers as if he knew. Meanwhile, the real Jason was in church with Ellis's little brother, Kyrie, and their mom, Vanessa. Even though he looked like everyone else, he felt like an alien. "What the hell is this?" he asked himself, seeing the people dancing around him. But not like fun dancing, like possessed dancing, and shouting like they were in pain from having a stroke. Was this a blood sacrifice ritual? A secret part of the Illuminati only minorities knew of? Was it a gathering for voodoo witches and warlocks? No, quite the opposite. It was a Black Baptist church. Vanessa waved her hands and moved side to side next to him as the drummer beat with the stick so violently he was sure the drums itself would burst. A boy younger than him played the organ alongside the choir, seeming to energize the crowd with every note. The pastor, a large, dark-skinned, bald man with gold teeth, acted as the DJ, amping up everyone around him. Even Kyrie stood and danced. Jason began to notice he was the only one still sitting. It had all happened so fast. One moment someone was talking about God and what he did for them, and the next it was like World War III, as if on cue. He had noticed a few members, although dancing, gave him a condescending and disgusted look as if to say, "Oh, he doesn't appreciate God. Why is he here?" This made Jason most uncomfortable, as one could imagine. "Boy, you better get your butt up and act like you got some sense," Vanessa leaned down and whispered. This led him to yield to pressure and stand. Forcing a smile, he raised his hands and clapped them, feeling they weighed a ton. Trying to maintain his pace with the beat, he heard the pastor then say, "If you love God, take a jog around the church right now." It seemed like every single man, woman, and child took the order like a military soldier and began their lap, some even turning and twisting along the way with multiple people taking multiple laps. As Jason jogged behind Vanessa, unwilling to go the second lap she would eventually take, he couldn't help but smile, holding back a laugh, giving the impression to the other churchgoers that he was happy and having a good time. The entire absurdity of him being in this situation made him chuckle as he took his seat. Despite the humor he found in this situation, he wondered how he would get away from these people and get back home. And if he was here, then who the hell was in his body? After they arrived back at the house from church, which took nearly 3 hours by the way, Jason told Vanessa that he was going to a friend's house. When she asked who, he was taken aback but answered, Rick." "Who's Rick?" she asked. "Oh, one of the guys from the school." "Okay, where does he live?" "Why is this lady so damn nosy?" he wondered. Mission Hills." "Mission Hills? Boy, who you know in Mission Hills?" "I just told you, this boy at school." "First of all, you better watch your tone. Second, ain't nobody at your school live in Mission Hills. If they did, they wouldn't be going to your school. Ain't nothing but rich white people up there." "Oh yeah, yeah? Where you get yeah from? It's yes ma'am, don't play with me. I don't care if you about to graduate or not. Don't think I ain't seen how you was acting in church either. Oh, sorry, I wasn't feeling well. But what I meant was the kid helps tutor at the school and I needed to grab some stuff from him. Vanessa gave him a long look before saying, so you going to get some stuff for school on a Sunday? Ellis, if you gonna lie, at least wait 6 hours after church. If you going to see Alondra, that's all you had to say, long as no babies don't come popping up. And don't be getting in no trouble. Got it. Where's the car? What you mean where the car? It's right there out in front. You alright? Oh, I mean my car. Vanessa looked him up and down for a moment before bursting out laughing and saying, boy, stop playing. Be home by the time your daddy get off. Slumping his shoulders, Jason sauntered out of the room. He had no money and no car. Wait, maybe there's something in the room, he thought, going back to Ellis's bedroom. All he found was an Android and $40. Better than nothing, he thought as he pocketed the 40 and attempted to open the Android, except it was a PIN code and no facial recognition. Taking the off chance to ask Vanessa if she knew the code, he was surprised to know that she actually did after telling her that he forgot. He opened it, and luckily she wasn't standing over him at that moment because what he saw was unexpected. Let's just say Alondra ended up sending that picture Ellis had asked for. After nearly dropping the phone, he logged into his navigation app. David and Christine had just gotten back home with Julius when Jason got off at a nearby bus stop. They didn't see him coming as he approached and yelled out, "Hey!" before beginning to run towards their gate. "Mom, Dad!" he hollered and smiled, increasing his speed. The Talbert couple looked back at their son as David jumped in front of his wife, who clutched her purse. The only calm one was Julius, who at first looked at Jason and cocked his head before going straight up to the gate and licking his hand as he crouched down. "Get away from my dog!" Christine screamed, pulling Julius, who seemed to fight her more than anything, away. "Hey, I think you need to leave," David said. "Yes, that's right. You need to leave now or we'll call the police," Christine echoed. "Oh yeah, I'm sorry," Jason said, taking a step back once remembering who he appeared to be. "I honestly didn't mean anything. I was just looking for your son." "You're looking for our son? How do you know our son? And why were you running towards us?" David asked. "And calling us Mom and Dad? What's that about?" Jason looked down as he thought of what to say next. Just as Christine raised her phone to call 911, everyone looked toward the end of the driveway. As Ellis pulled up to the gate, the look of confusion, anger, and relief formed Jason's face. Both of the boys wondered the same thing as they saw each other and grew closer. Ellis, while in the driver's seat, waited for it to open while everyone stared in his direction. Moments later, he looked to the left and realized there was a box with numbers to open the gate. Starting to panic, he let down his window and yelled, "Hey, I forgot the combination." With a confused look, Christine began to open it through her phone app, but before she could, Jason had already made it to the gate. After inputting the combo, much to David and Christine's surprise, it worked. "Damn, so this shit's real," Ellis said as he pulled forward. "Son, you can't give out our combination to people. Now I have to change it," David whispered to Ellis as he rolled past the park. "Hi, son. Who's your friend? A little weird, maybe? Seems to think we're his parents," Christine whispered as Ellis got out and closed the door. "And where'd you meet him?" "Oh, no, he's a prankster. He's pretty cool. Met him at school." "Really?" "Oh, yeah, transfer student," he smiled. Jason walked up and greeted his parents as if he didn't know them, while Ellis stayed in the car as Julius barked. "Why is he acting like that?" Christine asked. "The vet said he was fine." The Talbert parents watched on as Jason calmed down Julius and familiarized him with Ellis, who at first was reluctant to get out the car. After seeing the puzzled look on his parents' faces, Jason said, "Oh, I work with dogs too. Sometimes around this time of year they get a little crazy," he continued while petting Julius, who still didn't seem to be certain about Ellis. "Alright, so what do you guys have planned for the rest of tonight?" David asked. "Probably go up and game for a while," Jason whispered, to which Ellis repeated. "Oh, okay, well, you guys have fun," David said, putting his arm around Christine and pulling her away. "We need to talk," Jason told Ellis, after the couple left, to which he nodded and the two went inside the huge home and into Jason's room. As the boys entered, Ellis sat on the king-size bed on the 700-square-foot bedroom. "Nah, bro, I don't think so. Get up," Jason said, motioning over to the gaming chair. "All right," Ellis said as he arose, But remember, I was sleeping there last night. Yeah, but it's more comfortable and it's still my room, Jason replied, plumping down into the bed. After that, Ellis rolled closer and the boys sat and stared at each other for what seemed like minutes. How did this happen? Jason asked, shaking his head. Shoot, I don't know. Why you asking me? Ellis asked. Well, I wasn't really asking in particular, I meant in general. It probably had something to do with the fight last night, Ellis said. Yeah, it had to. I mean, I've never seen you before then. Have you? Ellis shook his head and said, plus you remember that lightning that came down at the same time we fought? He asked, and Jason nodded. And besides that, we have the same birthdays, which is crazy, Jason said. Nah, I can't believe this, bruh. I gotta get back to my family, Ellis said. Dude, me too. You think I like waking up in your bed? Jason asked. What you trying to say? Ellis furrowed his eyebrows. I'm saying, man, you're not the only person who has to deal with shit. I'm not saying I am. I'm just saying I miss my family. I don't know why y'all started that shit last night anyway. Started what? Jason said, standing, immediately followed by Ellis. You guys started the whole thing as soon as we walked in. Yeah, okay, bet. We might have started it, but y'all took it too far. Especially you with the because you're black statement. Lame ass nigga. Man, I was mad and I knew it would get you mad. That's the only reason I said it. I don't really mean that shit. Yeah, right, Ellis replied. Look, man, let's focus on how to get out of this. That way we won't have to deal with each other, Jason said, taking a seat in the gaming chair and gesturing Ellis to the bed. Ellis exhaled and lay sideways on the bed with his elbow propped against the pillow while Jason turned to face him and began saying, Alright, so, bruh, no wonder you was acting like that. You rich as hell, Ellis said, interrupting him. We're not rich. We're okay, but not rich. Really, 'cause last I checked you the first person I seen with a Tesla truck. Yeah, speaking of, what the hell are you doing driving my car, dude? Man, I was hungry when I woke up. And plus, y'all ain't got nothing in the refrigerator. What? We've got plenty. Bruh, how you gonna call no meat plenty? Oh, my parents are vegan. Well, vegetarian. Don't that mean you vegan? Ellis asked. Well, I usually eat out, but back to my car. I got that for my birthday and want it back. You can tell Dad that you let me borrow it or something. You really think your dad gonna let me let someone else borrow it, especially someone like you? He said, looking up and down, when I just supposedly got it for my birthday last month? You've got a point, Jason said. I still don't want you driving it. Bruh, how I'm supposed to get around? Same way as I did today, bro. Take the bus and walk, Jason said. By now, Julius, who was being petted by Jason, had warmed up to Ellis and even asked for affection, to which Ellis was happy to oblige. And bro, I had to sit through that exorcism this morning. I'm good, Jason said. We need to figure this out. Ellis looked puzzled until he started to giggle, saying, Oh yeah, you went to church? Not funny at all, dude. I was like, what the fuck? Bruh, you probably needed it, Ellis laughed. Wait a minute, how you get here? Navigation, Jason said. On who phone? You don't know my code. Right, but your mom does, luckily, Jason said. Or I would have had to find a map. Damn, that's right, Ellis muttered to himself. Ellis remembered that he had given his mom the code to use when her phone died a few days prior. Can't believe she remembered that. Wait, Ellis said, rubbing his thumbs together. Did you go through my messages? Jason paused before saying, Dude, I didn't have to. As soon as I put in the code, some black chick's boobs popped on the screen. Nigga, what you mean? Ellis stood up and asked. That's my girl, boy. Nah, bro, Jason said, putting his palms out toward Ellis. I mean, they were nice and all, but I wasn't like focused or anything, he continued, backing up. Sorry, dude. What else you look at? And be honest, 'cause I can go through your shit too. Man, I promise all I saw was that and I backed out and went straight to navigation, Jason replied. Alright, whatever, just give me my phone, Ellis said, stretching his hand out. Okay, that's a good idea, Jason responded. Let's do a trade. Ellis grabbed Jason's phone and the two traded before texting each other their numbers. Okay, so let me get this straight. The girl that I saw in the pic is named Alondra, and she's your girlfriend? Jason asked. Right, nigga. Forget about the picture, boy. You ain't never gonna see that again, Ellis warned. But yeah, she gonna be at the school too, obviously. Y'all even got a class together. The boys went to different schools? Jason went to Mission High, an affluent large high school with multiple programs located near downtown. Ellis went to City Heights High, a school serving the minority community located near drugstores and hubs for prostitution. Neither had any idea what they were in for. And your girl named Olivia, bruh? Nigga, that sound like a slave name. You might as well have dated a girl named Harriet. Okay, Alondra, Jason said, sounding like a laundry detergent. Aye, Ellis said, putting his hands up. Nah, bruh, it's cool. Got it. So what we gonna do? I say we try to avoid them until we figure out what's happening, Jason said. Yeah, you right. You got any classes with Olivia? Ellis asked. Just homeroom, but we barely come to that. Cool, Ellis said. Oh shit, and prom coming up too? Damn, that's right. In a couple of weeks, so we gotta figure this out, Ellis said. What you majoring in? Journalism, Jason said. Mom and Dad work for the paper, so I've basically already got a job there after I graduate. You? Probably business, Ellis responded. You already know which college you going to? Yeah, Jason responded. SDSU. You? SDCCU probably, Ellis replied. Damn, finals coming up. Fuck, that's right. We gotta get this shit handled before. Yeah, but what if we don't? Ellis asked. I guess we'll have to study for each other's classes, Jason replied. The two boys went over the classes they had in the remaining few weeks of school, as well as their friends and teachers. Alright, Jason began. How am I going to get to school and back home? I mean, it depends. If Mom or Dad's working, then I usually take the bus home. Okay, I'll make you a deal, Jason said. If you can forgive me for looking at the picture of your girl, dude, you can drive my car. Just no joyriding. That's all I ask. School only. Ellis agreed and said, Oh yeah, I work at the barbershop on Saturdays. What? I don't know how to cut hair? It's cool. You'll mostly just have to sweep up. Shit, I just remember that I volunteer on Saturdays, Jason said. Doing what? Ellis asked. Just at the beach. I'm a volunteer lifeguard. Don't worry, it's only for a few hours. What? Nah, bro, I can barely swim, Ellis gasped. How I'm supposed to be saving people? It's cool, dude. You won't be alone. Plus, you'll have a whistle. Anytime you see anything crazy, just blow it. Oh, and you'll have a radio. I don't know, bro. That sounds crazy. Bro, this whole thing is crazy. Let's just hope we can figure it out before then, Jason said. The boys agreed to play along in their new roles and get along until they can figure out what was happening. After they were done speaking, Ellis and Jason went to Ellis's home. They traded book bags and Ellis dropped Jason off before making his way back to Jason's nice home in Mission Hills. Ellis was about 10 minutes from the home when he got off the freeway. After merging over and running a stop sign he didn't know was there, he looked in his rear view and saw police lights behind him. Oh, hell nah, bruh, he said before pulling over. As he rummaged for his papers, the officer appeared on the side of his door. It was Wheeler. Damn, here go this bitch-ass nigga, Ellis thought. Sorry, sir, he said as his heart raced. How do you let this window down? He asked himself, panicking. After a few more moments, the window descended and Ellis said, Sorry, sir. I didn't know. I forgot how to let the window down. It's a new car. Wheeler laughed, saying, Yeah, well, that's technology for you. You in a rush somewhere? No, sir. Just going home, Ellis said, still looking for his registration and insurance. What you looking for? Wheeler said, shining his light into the car. Just my registration and insurance, sir. Can't remember where I put it. Oh, don't worry about that, son. I know who you are, he laughed. Look, man, you gotta pay attention. You just ran a stop sign. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry, officer. Hold on, I think I might be able to get the paperwork from my phone, Ellis said. Just as he was about to call Jason, Wheeler waved him off, saying, Just get home safe and slow down, he concluded, patting the driver's side door before turning around. Yes, sir, Ellis said, waving back. And tell your dad I said hey, Wheeler yelled before getting into his cruiser. This was the best experience Ellis had ever had with the police. The next morning and the following week of school would challenge the boys in more ways than they had ever been. As Ellis pulled into school, his new school, Shane, Jason's friend, saw and began to approach him, but stopped when he heard the music. Ellis was listening to what seemed like hardcore gangster rap and bobbing his head. This was a far cry from the rock or country he was accustomed to hearing come out of Jason's car. A few other students looked at him as well. Poser? Someone muttered. Hey, you okay, man? Shane, resting his hand on the Cybertruck once he had parked, said. Yeah, Ellis said. This must be Shane, he thought. Jason had told him this was his friend, and Ellis noticed it was also the same guy with Jason's group from the fight 2 nights before. Why do you ask? Oh, nothing, man. Just heard you bumping NBA Youngboy, he laughed. It's not NBA, Ellis sighed. We didn't go over the type of music he listened to, Ellis thought. But what's up, Ellis asked. Oh shit, nothing, dude. Saw Olivia earlier. I think she was looking for you, Shane relayed. Oh, cool. I'll catch up with her. Dude, you ready for graduation? I swear I wish it were here already, Shane said. Yeah, pretty much. Hey, a girl's voice called out. The boys looked over to see Olivia carrying her book bag and purse walking toward them. I thought you texted me this morning that you might not come in today, she told Ellis after trying to give him a kiss on the lips. Jason must have texted her so she wouldn't look for him, Ellis thought. Oh, he began, taking a slow but deliberate step back. I'm kind of sick, sorry. That's why I was thinking about not coming. Oh, you want me to get you anything? What's wrong? Nah, I appreciate it, though. I think it's just a little cold. Damn, dude. I hope you'll be good for the party Saturday night. Ellis looked confused. Oh, shit, that's right, dude, Olivia said. Babe, the end of the year party for seniors is going to be so awesome, she told Ellis. Yeah, I'll see if I'm feeling better, he said. No, babe, you will be feeling better, she replied, reaching out to touch him before he pulled away. Remember, sick. Oh, yeah, she said, exhaling and drooping her shoulders. During lunch, Ellis took the time to explore his new school. Nice cars lined the parking lot, and everyone seemed so nice and carefree. Also, it was about 4 times larger than the one he went to in City Heights. It had 2 gyms, one for formal games and one for classes. It even had a pool, sauna, and tennis court. The school boasted 2 fields, one for track and field, soccer, and the other for football. The cafeteria looked more like a 5-star restaurant than anything for high school students. There were multiple vending machines with whatever snacks the school didn't provide. This Monday for lunch you had your choice of chicken or regular salad, steak, mashed potatoes with gravy, or the fast food section serving chili dogs with waffle fries. Oh, and you could go up for seconds, thirds, eating as much as you wanted, or at least until lunch was over. The faculty in this school seemed more laid back than Ellis was used to. Kids didn't even have to let the teacher know if they needed to use the bathroom. They just went. Also, many of the students addressed them by their first names. The principal said that she was trying to inspire maturity. The classrooms were huge, some even auditoriums, and most of the students seemed to be on their phones or laptops with their headphones in. There was only one kid that had a laptop in Ellis's old school, but that got stolen a week later. Friday came and PE class was a little different in that the teacher let the students play whatever sports they wanted to. Jason had mentioned to Ellis that he had skipped a year of PE, which was why he opted to take it before he graduated. Ellis's group, including Shane, chose baseball since they knew Jason was a great pitcher. Ellis did everything he could to get out of it, including feigning illness, but the instructor wouldn't budge. As he took the mound, his hands shook, clutching the ball. The last time he had come close to doing this was in elementary when they played softball, but he was the hitter, not the thrower. Everyone was looking at him as he tried to decide the best way to throw. Class will be over by the time he lets it go, one of the girls joked. Ellis ignored the hecklers and finally threw the ball. Even though he aimed right at the batter, it somehow went 2 feet behind them, landing behind the catcher's feet. The teens erupted in laughter as Ellis dropped his head. Bro, stop playing, Shane laughed, walking over to Ellis. If you don't feel like it, let me pitch and you can play the outfield. Ellis agreed as he skipped away from the bases, although he didn't do too much better in his new position either. What's up with you today, man? Shane asked after class. You really look like you're over it. Yeah, I'm just ready to graduate, bruh, Ellis replied. Me too, bruh, Shane mocked him. Hey, bruh, since you're feeling better, did you still want to go to the senior party tomorrow, bruh? All right, Ellis laughed. Yeah, I'm going. After Ellis left school, all he could think about was how much more he had. He didn't even have to clean his room because a housekeeper came by daily. He couldn't wait to get home after dropping Jason off to hop in the jacuzzi. Hopefully Vanessa wasn't in it. Speaking of Jason, his experiences were a little different. The narrow hallways of City Heights High led to a trash-ridden grassy area that lined the front of the school. Vanessa had just dropped Jason off and he looked down at his phone, going over the classes Ellis had texted him. As he walked, he had wondered what was wrong after noticing that everyone seemed so hostile. Even the girls seemed mean, giving off the vibe of, I don't want to talk. There was an armed security guard standing near the entrance holding a metal detector. After he was stopped and searched, Jason went inside. Everything seemed small, including the classes. The teachers were strict, not allowing anyone on their phones. By Tuesday, there were already 2 fights. One Jason witnessed firsthand after someone made a joke about someone else's shoes. There seemed to be tension in the air. You couldn't even leave class without asking permission, no matter what your grade was, and you had to be back in less than 5 minutes or get locked out of the classroom. Most of the kids at this school took the bus, leaving the parking lot mostly empty. "What's up, bruh?" Herbert said, walking up to Jason on Wednesday. "Oh, hey man," Jason replied. "Bruh, why you keep talking like that?" Herb asked. "Like what, dude?" "Like what, dude? Bruh, you for real?" he asked, giggling. "Yeah, man. This is how I talk," Jason responded. "Nah, no the hell it ain't, nigga. Since when?" "I guess I'm just trying to speak a little better. Going to college and all," Jason said, looking down. "Whatever, bruh. Listen, you still down to go to that party Saturday?" "What party?" "Man, the one downtown at the Hard Rock Cafe. That's where we gonna have our senior party at since the school wouldn't let us have one this year 'cause it was too many fights. So we all gonna meet up there. Heard another school gonna be there too." Jason remembered that it was his school that would be there, and since that was the case, everyone he knew would be there. Probably not, bro. I think I've got to help out at the restaurant," Jason replied. "What, your folks gonna make you work on senior night?" "Yeah, they say they need the help," Jason lied. "Damn, bro, that's fucked up." "Well, shit, if you change your mind, let a nigga know," Herbert replied. The next day, Thursday, Alondra snuck up on him just as Jason was about to go to lunch. "Hey, big head, why you acting different?" she asked, thumping him on the back of the neck as she approached from behind. Turning around whilst looking bewildered, Jason looked her up and down. Hey, are you okay?" she asked, taking a step closer. Just as he was about to say, "Are you?" he recognized her. It was the same face from the picture he had woken up 2 days before. She was even prettier in person. After realizing he hadn't responded and was holding his breath, Jason managed, I'm sorry. Just got a lot going on." "What you mean you got a lot going on? I just texted you earlier and you was all like, I miss you and this and that, and then I asked them why you can't see me and you said I will. Just wait." "Well, I'm tired of waiting." "What you mean? The prom coming up soon? You mean I ain't gonna see you at the prom?" Jason was speechless. This was too much information for him to process. He had to say something. "Oh no, I'll see you at prom, of course." It was a week away and they were no closer to solving their problem. "Well, what about the party Saturday?" she asked. "You gonna see me then too? I should be getting off work early." "Oh, I think I might have to help out at the restaurant," he replied. "Oh, okay. Well, if you don't go, I won't go," she said, placing a hand on his chest. "Just let me know." Okay, I will," he replied, taking a step back. "You ain't gonna give me no kiss?" she asked, grabbing his shirt, pulling him toward her. "Oh, I can't. No, you know I would, but just ate something and my breath's kinda kicking right now." Without haste, Alondra pulled out a stick of gum from her purse and held it out toward him. "Wait," he said, taking another step back as he lifted his hand to his chest. "What you mean wait? Boy, stop playing," she said, nearly forcing the gum in his mouth. All right, he said, taking the gum. "Give me a sec." "What you mean give you a sec? Are you fucking somebody else, Ellis?" Jason drew back, saying, "No." The boys had promised each other that their girlfriends were a no-go, but this was a situation Jason couldn't figure out how to get out of, so he relented. "No, I just wanted you to at least let me put the gum in first. Jeez," Jason said. "Jeez," she mocked him. Jason tried to give her a peck until she said, "Boy, what was that?" and grabbed his cheek and pulled it closer. They had to be kissing for at least 10 seconds. Every time he tried to pull away from her thick lips, she pulled him closer. Jason had no idea what she was thinking about because the only thing he focused on was, think about Olivia. Despite his best efforts, he felt weak in the knees afterwards. She said. Text me later, she ended, walking away. Immediately, Jason texted Ellis, but not to tell him what happened, not yet at least, to tell him that she wanted him to text her later. Oh, y'all saw each other? Ellis texted. Yeah, she snuck up on me in the hallway, Jason responded. Yeah, she be doing that shit to me all the time, lol. What'd she say? Oh, just why I've been avoiding her. Oh, yeah, I'ma text her later. Alright, great. See you after school, man. Cool. That's all y'all talked about, though? Jason took a deep inhale. He was about to be late to class. Yep, he responded. Oh, and the party. They're having it in the same place as my school. Oh, downtown? Ellis asked. Yeah, I told them I might have to work at the restaurant. Oh shit, I told them I was sick. Well, if it's at the same place, I guess we both can go. You down? Ellis asked. Yeah, that's cool, I guess. At least we'll be able to see our girlfriends. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about, Ellis responded. Sometimes Ellis's parents worked the same shift and Jason had to watch Kyrie, who was 10. Which wasn't so bad because Ellis did at least have an Xbox. It was an Xbox One and Jason was used to his PS6, but at least it beat playing basketball. The only other thing Kyrie wanted to do. The first time they played it was an online game Jason had suggested. Ellis didn't have it on his system, so Jason used his credit card number to purchase it. As soon as the game started, Jason turned on voice chat to communicate with the other players on his team. What's up, guys? Let's go, he said. Say get him, Jason, he told Kyrie, and he obeyed. The two didn't expect what they would hear next. Wait, is that a fucking nigger? One player said. The game hadn't even started yet. Jason had forgotten he was black, which meant he sounded black. Get off our team, Obama, another said. I'll hang your ass, boy, yet someone else commented. They began getting inundated with a plethora of racist remarks as Jason looked over to Kyrie, whose mouth was open. He didn't know what to say, and neither did Jason at first. Just ignore them. They're stupid, Jason told him, fist bumping the boy's shoulder. Kyrie remained silent before saying, I don't want to play this game anymore. Jason put the TV on mute and looked back stunned as the game was about to start. Okay, how about I just put the sound off, buddy, he pleaded. No, he said, standing. I want to go play basketball before walking out. Jason took a deep breath before turning off the game and walking Kyrie the 3 blocks to the basketball court, and the two played until Curtis got home. That was the only time Kyrie ever beat his big brother at basketball, and not because Jason let him. In contrast to Ellis, Jason did not like this way of living at all. It was small, strict, and had way too many responsibilities, not to mention keeping up with Ellis's hair. He knew he would be upset and that he should probably have asked, but Jason had decided it needed to be cut. This was something Curtis was very happy about, although he was sure Alondra would hate. So on Saturday, Jason arrived at Best Cut Central 20 minutes early to get his hair cut. Damn, I can't believe you cutting it, Clyde said as Jason sat in front of him. Yeah, it's just becoming too much. Okay, what you want me to give you? Preferably something short, Jason said. Alright, low fade sound good? He asked, showing him the picture. That's perfect. Alright, good, Clyde began. What you youngsters got going on tonight? Probably go to a party. It's a senior party, Jason replied. Oh, that sounds fun. Well, I was going to tell you I'm gonna have to step out for about an hour later and got a client for you to cut. He don't need nothing special. Just a little old bald fade with a part. He tipped good too, so you'll have some more money in your pocket for the night. Jason struggled to get the words out. Ellis had told him he'd just be sweeping. What's wrong? Clyde asked. You left your clippers home again? That's all right, you can use my spare. Oh, okay. Thank you, Jason responded. As soon as he got done with his haircut, he called Ellis, who then assured him he would be able to come in and cut the man's hair after his lifeguard shift was over, although he neglected to tell Ellis that he had just gotten a haircut. Time passed and Clyde left. Despite multiple calls and texts to Ellis, there was no response. Jason looked to the right as someone knocked at the door. It was the client. After standing there for a minute, he walked up and opened the door. The man that walked in looked like he played for the Rams. He looked to be in his mid-30s, was 6'5", big, and looked extremely athletic. He had puffy, nappy hair, a scruffy beard, and wore crisp black Air Force Ones. He also had a diamond chain that at least looked real around his neck. Sir, I'm so sorry I can't take you in. I just realized I forgot something at home. Forgot what? He asked. Oh no, just that I forgot my charger at home and have to go get it, but Mr. Clyde will be back in an hour. Man, I ain't got no hour. What kind of phone you got? He asked. iPhone. Oh shit, me too. You ain't say nothing, he said, getting up. I got one right in the car. Let me go get it. Oh, I'm sorry. I literally just got a new Android, man, Jason said, watching the man get up. Oh shit, it's all good. I think I got one of them too, he said, exiting the door. As he hoped the man wouldn't enter, the door swung open with the man holding an Android charger. There you go, he said, handing it to Jason. Thanks. Yep, the man said, sitting back down. So what's your name? Oh, J. Ellis, he answered. J. Ellis is crazy, the man said. Oh no, it's just Ellis. Yours? Oh, okay. Nah, Herman. Nice to meet you, Herman said, reaching back toward Jason, and the two shook hands. So, how long you been doing this, man? Herman asked, looking at himself in the mirror. Oh, not too long, Jason said, wondering what he should do next. Olivia had forced him to watch a show once about barbers. He didn't learn much, but he planned to apply it all. Not too long, he asked, crinkling his forehead. What the hell you mean, not too long? Clyde told me you knew what the hell you were doing. Oh, I got some experience, Jason lied. First he was about to start without an apron until Herman reminded him. So what are we getting for you today? Jason asked. Just a bar low fade with the part in the middle, he responded. And no, this story doesn't take place in the 90s. Man, so what you think about the new Marlin Theater they putting down the street? Herman asked as Jason began. Oh, I think it's pretty good for the city. Bring jobs too. Yeah, man, it's about time. I thought them crackers wasn't never gonna get it done. Jason paused, not that he was doing too much cutting anyway. Got me thinking we wasn't gonna have nothing out here, Herman continued. 5 minutes passed, then 20, and Jason had barely cut anything when Herman laughed and said, Hey man, why you cutting so slow? You nervous or something? No, he replied, feigning a laugh. Just trying to get the shape right. Let me go to the bathroom for a sec. Oh, aight, Herman said, turning his head back around. After looking up how to cut a ball fade with a part in the middle, Jason returned. Damn, you must have had to take a big ass shit, Herman said, annoyed. Oh, sorry. Yeah, ate some Mexican earlier. Jason grabbed the clippers and began to cut before taking a large portion off the top before Herman touched his head saying, Man, what the fuck? I told you don't take nothing off the top, nigga, as he looked in the mirror. Jason took a step back, beginning, Oh, nah, I have to shape up the... Man, don't shape up nothing. Just do what I'm paying you to do. Can you do that, bruh? Yeah, man, sorry. Don't be sorry, just be good, bruh. Afterward, he cut too deep multiple times, causing Herman to flinch. The fade was uneven in all ways, resembling more of a military cut than a low fade, although Herman didn't notice at first as his head nodded ever so often. Oh, and line my shit up too, he said, waking himself. A line-up's pretty easy, Jason thought. Just make it straight. As he cut, his body was blocking the view so Herman couldn't see what he was doing. Ah, he yelled. He had cut too deep again. Sorry, Jason said, before resuming as Herman stared at him like Jason was crazy. From the left to right he cut, mostly satisfied with his work before finishing and pulling away to grab the clippers to do the part. Ah, hell nah, Herman screamed and stood up. Bruh, I know you ain't just, he continued, in shock as he paced while looking at himself in the mirror. Herman's lineup was completely slanted with the right side being about 2 inches higher than the left. What's worse is that his hairline was now closer to the top of his head than the front. Mother, Herman began, taking a closer look in the mirror. Oh, we got a motherfucking problem, nigga, he continued, snatching off his apron and beginning to approach Jason, who was backing up. I'm sorry, sir, I did my best. Nah, bruh, fuck all that, Herman said as he began to corner the teen. Then the two looked toward the entrance as it opened. Jason was relieved to see Clyde walking in. After shutting the door behind him, he turned around and looked at both Jason and Herman before asking, What the hell going on in here? Herman looked at Jason before back to Clyde and saying, Man, you see my motherfucking hair? This motherfucker done fucked my shit up. Now I'ma fuck his shit up. Thought you said he was solid, Clyde. Clyde put down his keys, walked over and took a closer look at Herman before thinking, damn, and looking at Jason. Don't worry about it, man. I'll take care of it free of charge. He must have made a mistake, Clyde assured him. Don't worry? What you mean don't worry about it? Ain't no fixing this shit, man. Aw, hell nah. Just give me a minute. Ellis let me talk to you, Clyde replied, taking Jason in the back. Ellis, what the hell going on? He asked after closing the door. Nah, I know you ain't do that to that man head. He one of our best customers. I'm not sure. I guess I'm a little rusty, Jason responded. Little rusty? You just did the exact same cut a few weeks ago. Look, this coming out your check. Go on home, he said. I'll deal with him, he concluded, and the two exited the back room. Jason wasted no time in getting out the door, avoiding all eye contact with the disgruntled client, and got ready for the party. Despite Jason's experience, it truly paled in comparison to his counterpart. Man, it's hot, Ellis said, sweating as he sat on the high chair for lifeguards in Mission Beach. His skin felt different. It began to hurt and was turning red as he wondered if he should have bothered bringing sunscreen. Despite the feverish temperature, the beach was packed. Ellis's older and more experienced partner, Hank, sat high above the sands monitoring the beachgoers. The day had been uneventful besides Ellis having to warn people about their pets or going out too far and drinking. Alright, bro, I'ma go on a break, Hank said, dismounting from the chair. Be back in 10 minutes, cool? Yep, Ellis nodded. If you need anything, just radio me, Hank concluded before walking off. The next few minutes calm as Ellis took another swig of water. Soon after, a woman came running and stumbled up, yelling along with many others nearby. Help, help, please, she said. My son's in the water, she screamed, pointing toward a boy thrashing in the waves about 50 yards away from shore. Hey, drowning, a boy's drowning, Ellis radioed as he got down with his red flotation device. What? Okay, on my way, Hank radioed back. The policy was that there were supposed to be 2 lifeguards at one time address a drowning, so as he stood waiting, Father asked, What the hell are you doing? My son needs help, he cried. Get your ass out there, another yelled. Yielding to pressure and seeing the child struggle, Ellis began toward the water as his speed increased. Jumping in with a floater, he was soon further than he had ever been in the ocean as the waves crashed against his face. It became more difficult to maneuver and steer while he tried to keep his head above water. The boy grew closer. 20 meters, 10 meters, now 5. The child was barely holding on, Ellis unable to distinguish tears from the ocean. Here, grab this, he said, pulling the boy closer. The child held on for dear life and the two began to sink. Ellis had to let go as the floater wouldn't support both of them, but he didn't know how to swim, much less wade water. Before they were both underwater, Ellis let go of the floater and the boy climbed on fully. At this point, Ellis realized he had brought the radio in the water, and although waterproof, it had somehow detached from his shorts and was now lost forever. Ellis grabbed the floater strap, flapping his feet, and tried pulling them back toward the beach, but they seemed to only be able to move inches at a time. Ellis's head began to go underwater. He let go of the floater and pushed himself back up using his legs and arm, but when he let go, the boy began to drift back out. Ellis began to panic as the waves interposed his nostrils and he spat out water. Taking a deep breath in, he grabbed the strap and began pulling it behind him as he moved back to shore underwater. A few seconds later, he re-emerged, letting go of the strap and exhaled before seeing how close they were. They had only traveled a few feet and the waves were pushing them back out. Ellis repeated this, managing to get them about halfway back, but was exhausted. There was no use. He couldn't pull them back. They continued to drift away amongst the beachgoers' yells, and Ellis fought to stay above the water, gulping in salt every few seconds. Just as Ellis was about to go under for good, he felt someone grab him. It was Hank. Hey man, you good? He asked. Does it look like I'm good? He thought. Sensing his answer, he held him up, saying, I got you, and handed him a floater. While Ellis held on, Hank swam back toward the boy, grabbed his floater before returning to get Ellis's, and pulled them both back to shore. Oh my God, thank you so much, the parent said to Hank after giving Ellis a look. Is he new? He shouldn't be doing this, Ellis overheard the father ask Hank. So what happened, man? You're a great swimmer. Did you get a cramp or something? Hank asked Ellis a few minutes later. Yeah, I got a cramp in both my legs. Oh, that's no good. You couldn't use your arms? Man, I was way too tired, Ellis responded, still in shock. I get it, Hank said, putting a hand on the boy's shoulder. Look, you've been through a lot. How about we call it a day and I'll see you next week? But don't you need two people? Don't worry, I've got a reserve on standby. Just glad you're all right, Hank said. Thank God, Ellis thought. The House of Blues is buzzing with activity as the end-of-the-year senior party was in full swing. Neon lights flashed to the beat of the music and students mingled and danced. Ellis stepped out of the Tesla, feeling the uncomfortable sting of his sunburned skin under his shirt and wincing while adjusting his collar. As he approached the entrance, he spotted Shane waiting for him near the door. Yo, Jason, over here, he gestured. Ellis forced a smile, waving back, joining Shane, who claps him on the back, causing him to wince once again. You okay, man? Shane asked, noticing. Yeah, just a bit of a rough day at the beach. Got a little too much sun. Shane laughed, saying, Man, you gotta be careful. You look like a goddamn lobster. Meanwhile, Jason arrived at the venue with Herbert. Herbert glanced over and frowned, noticing the mismatched outfit Jason is wearing. Slacks with sneakers and a shirt that doesn't quite fit the rest. Hey man, Herbert says, nudging Jason with his elbow. What you got on? Jason looked down at his clothes, trying to play it off, saying, Oh, you know, just trying something different. Herbert raised an eyebrow. What you mean different? Bruh, you look like you got dressed in the dark, he laughed. Jason scratched the back of his neck, feeling the heat rise in his cheeks. Yeah, I guess I was in a rush. Didn't really think it through. Herbert chuckled and shook his head. Yeah, but you usually got better style than this twin. Plus, I see you done cut all your hair off. You straight? Jason nodded, saying, Yeah, just a crazy day. You know how it is. Herbert studies him for a moment, then shrugs. All right, man, guess I'm getting the hose tonight. Man, I can't believe we're finally here, bruh, Herbert said, looking around. This place lit as fuck. Jason nodded while scanning the crowd for familiar faces. As they weaved through, Jason's phone buzzes in his pocket. It's a message from Ellis. Hey, I'm inside. Meet me near the bar. Jason nudged Herbert, saying, Let's grab a drink first. Since this was a high school event, root beers and Sprites were the most popular drinks. As they headed toward the bar area, the crowd was thick but manageable. Jason soon spotted Ellis, surprised by the sight of his own body, which carried a face with more of the complexion of a tomato than human. He signals Ellis with a nod and the boys step off to the side. Hey man, you look like you had a hot day, Jason began. My skin feel like it's on fire. Anyway, what's up, bruh? Surviving, Jason replied. You? How did it go at work? Man, I'll say nobody died. Thought it was gonna be easier though. What about you? Well, I thought I was about to die, but I'm here now, Jason laughed. Oh, hold up, bruh. Wait, bruh, what the hell you did to my hair? Ellis asked, finally noticing Jason's new shortcut while trying to keep his voice low and hide his anger. I'm sorry, man. It was driving me crazy. I didn't know how to take care of it. Ellis clenches his fists and took a deep breath in before replying. Bruh, you could have just asked me before cutting my shit. I know. I'm really sorry. I just panicked. Man, so much was going on, almost had a guy try to kill me. Ellis shook his head, saying, You about to have another one that's gonna try to kill you if you cut my shit again. Let's just figure out how to fix this shit. Jason looked away and paused before saying, Listen, there's something else. I ran into Alondra at school. Okay, what that mean? She kind of kissed me, he admitted, taking a step back. I mean, bro, I tried to stop it. Ellis's eyes widened. What you mean kinda? Y'all did or didn't? Which one is it? He asked, taking a step forward. She did, but she forced it, Jason said. I tried to avoid it, bro, but she wouldn't take no for an answer. Ellis a little closer, his face now inches from Jason's. Let me get this straight, my nigga. You let my girl kiss you? Man, I just told you that I didn't want to, Jason insisted. Bruh, that's strike two, Ellis said. First you cut my hair, now you trying to get with my girl? No, bro, it's nothing like that. Wait, Jason paused. You get to drive my car and everything. Meanwhile, I'm stuck waiting on the bus or your parents. Ellis sighed, lowering his shoulders. Yeah, I know you bet not touch her again. I won't, Jason promised. But what do you want me to do if I see her? Nigga run the other way, Ellis interrupted. Make up something, I don't care. Herbert and Shane, who were standing nearby, exchanged confused looks. You guys good? Shane asked, raising an eyebrow. Yeah, Ellis said. Just talking. Ellis leaned in and whispered to Jason, we need to talk later. There's gotta be a way to fix this. Jason nodded, saying, we'll make it. Later that night, the boys managed to get away from their classmates and friends to talk. They leaned against the wall, trying to blend into the background as much as possible while the crowd of high school seniors flowed past them. So your folks want to have dinner with me and Olivia on Friday, the day before prom, Ellis said. What? Jason replied, turning to look at him. Bro, your mom said the same thing. She wants me and Alondra to have dinner at her house on Friday. She really likes that girl. Damn, so what's up? What you thinking? Not sure, but we need to come up with a plan to handle that soon. How about we meet with our girls on Monday? Ellis suggested. For what? Just to let them know? Jason asked. No, man, we need to tell them the truth. They notice we've been avoiding them. Yeah, but I highly doubt they'll believe that, Jason said. Man, they'll have to. Otherwise what? We cancel the dinner and the prom? I mean, we can give it a try, Jason agreed. Oh, and I found something interesting during my research, Jason added. There were other owners of the restaurant before the current ones. I'm not sure what happened to them yet, but it might be a clue. Ellis's eyes narrowed as he took another sip of root beer. Good shit. Yeah, we need to find out more about them people. Maybe it's connected. That's what I'm thinking, Jason agreed. We'll dig deeper on Monday after we talk to the girls. After the event, Jason got in the passenger seat of Herbert's cousin's car, still trying to process the events of the night. That party was fire, Herbert said, pulling out of the lot. Yeah, it was, Jason replied, before noticing flashing blue lights in the rearview mirror. Bro, what the fuck? Herbert muttered, pulling over to the side of the road. Chill out, bro, Jason said. They're probably just looking for drunk people. The officer approached the car and Jason immediately recognizes him. License and registration, Wheeler demanded, shining his flashlight into both boys' faces. Herbert glared as he handed over documents. What's the problem, officer? What do you mean, what's the problem? Can't you see? You ran a red light back there. This isn't even your car. You know what? Actually, step out of the car, both of you. Man, we ain't run no stop sign, Herbert whispered. Just do what he says, Jason replied. Wheeler smirked while patting them down, although the pats felt more like slaps. Keep your hands where I can see them. If either of you move or try to flee, your ass is done. Hey, we're not due, Jason began. Don't say nothing, bruh, Herbert interrupted him. So whose car is this? Wheeler asked. I told you, Herbert replied. My cousin's. Oh, really? What are you boys doing out this late anyway? Looks like you're up to no good. We're just coming back from the senior party, sir, Jason said. About to graduate. Graduate, he laughed. Oh yeah? You boys in school, huh? Yes, sir, Jason replied. We both are graduating this year. We're just heading home. You ain't going nowhere if this car doesn't check out, Wheeler responded before handcuffing both boys and putting them in the back of his patrol. After affirming they were who they said via a phone call with the cousin, he pulled them back out. They had been sitting in the back seat for over 40 minutes until he was done. All right, you checked out, he said, uncuffing them. Don't let me run into you again, he concluded, handing Herbert a ticket and turning around. The boys got back in the car before hearing Wheeler say, oh, wait. Wheeler walked back to the passenger side and shined his light again in Jason's face. Hey, don't I know you? Jason was confused. I mean, he knew that Wheeler knew the real him, but had no idea he knew Ellis. Sorry, officer. I don't think we've ever... Oh, yeah, I remember, Wheeler interrupted. You're that kid walking home by himself a few weeks ago. Jason stared blankly. Oh, don't tell me you don't remember. Are you on drugs? No, sir. I'm just not sure when we spoke. Uh-huh, yeah, I bet, Wheeler smirked, tapping the car with his finger. Well, all right then, y'all head on home, he finished, placing both hands on his hips, and watched the boys drive off. The boys rode in silence for a few moments before finally speaking. Since when you so nice to motherfucking cops, bro? Herbert asked. You know that nigga dirty as hell. Bro, maybe he was stressed or something, Jason replied. He seemed mad about something. Yeah, nigga, that we exist probably, Herbert laughed. As they continued driving, Jason thought about what he meant. It's Sunday, as Ellis sits in a Catholic church with Jason's parents. He is in a pew between David and Christine as they watched a white man dressed in a big white robe with a big white hat accompanied by similarly dressed people slowly walk up the aisle. This is like a cult, Ellis thinks, as the sounds of moaning in another language increase. During the service, Ellis realized that this was the quietest and most organized church he had ever been to, but wondered if they should evacuate when they saw the people swinging the censer of incense. Are they trying to put out a fire or something? While Ellis struggled to grasp what he was seeing, David leaned over to Christine and whispered softly, "He's been acting so different lately. Have you noticed?" Christine nodded as she side-eyed Ellis. "Of course. That's part of the reason why I wanted to come today. We went to the mall the other day and he spent the majority of time in the Nike section." "Really?" he asked, looking over. "Because when he came home yesterday, I was getting some stuff out the garage and overheard the music he was listening to. Some sort of deal or drill music. I don't know, but it was violent." She turned to look at him in horror. "Yeah, but get this," he continued. "When I walked out and he saw me, he turned it down." "What happened to our little boy?" she asked. "I don't know. I think he might just be trying to find himself," he replied. "I don't know," Christine added, "but I thought coming here might help. Dr. Waltz goes here and is supposed to be very good. He helped Kaylee's daughter out with that one thing, remember?" David nodded, lying. As the service concluded with a blessing, the congregation began to file out. "That's the shortest church service I've ever been to," Ellis thought before standing. "Hey, Jason, wait a moment," David said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We want you to meet someone." Ellis, curious, nodded, following David and Christine as they made their way toward the back of the church. They approached a man in his mid-50s, with graying hair and a kind, professional demeanor. Dr. Yandes Waltz. "Dr. Waltz, this is our son, Jason," Christine began, smiling. "I called you yesterday, and I mentioned we were hoping you could have a quick chat with him." "Why, of course," Dr. Waltz said, extending his hand. "Nice to meet you, Jason. Shall we find a quiet place to talk?" Sure," Ellis responded, glancing back at David and Christine. Once in a quiet corner of the church, Ellis stood across from Dr. Waltz. "So, Jason," he began, smiling, "your parents tell me you've been acting a bit different lately. How have you been feeling?" Ellis's mouth widened as he started to understand the purpose of this meeting. This was really an intervention. Nah, just worried about school, graduation, and everything, you know?" He nodded before saying, "Right, this is a pivotal time in a young man's life. You're going into the journey of adulthood. Your mother told me she's a little worried about you. What else has changed?" "I mean," Ellis began, scratching his head, "like I said, nothing really." "Well, I understand you've been listening to new music. It seems to have worried your parents." It was at this point that Ellis decided to troll. "I mean, it's just rap," he responded. "I understand that it's violent as well." "Shoot, sometimes you gotta let a nigga know," Ellis said, trying to hold back laughter, seeing the doctor's face. Excuse me?" "Yeah, bruh, if a nigga try you and all that." "Jason," he began, putting a hand on Ellis's arm, "that word isn't appropriate." "What you mean? I ain't racist. I'm just saying." "Still, when did you begin speaking like that?" "Man, I'm just being myself." "I see. And I hear you've made some new friends, the black boy that comes to the house." "Oh yeah, that's my nigga. Please stop saying that," he interrupted. Yeah, but we've been cool. He ain't new." "Oh, okay, I understand. Your father had just never seen him before." "Oh, bruh, I've been knowing him from back in the day. Used to kick it at his crib," he lied. "Does he live in University Heights? Your mother said one of her friend's children saw you hanging out around there." "Oh, yeah, he stay around there." "Jason, that's a very dangerous area. I really don't think you should be there." "Man, ain't nothing dangerous, just some hoeing and shooting. That's about it." Dr. Waltz looked at the boy like he had seen a ghost before asking, "Okay, are you currently using any drugs or drinking, even if it's weed?" "Nah, bruh, that's just the homies, on the set." On the set, the doctor murmured to himself. Jason, if there's anything you need to speak to me about, my door is always open. Do you understand that? Oh, for sure, he replied. All right, Jason. I think you're doing just fine. Keep exploring, but remember to be careful. Ellis smiled, saying, Appreciate it, bruh. After the doctor gestured, Christine walked over and said, Jason, why don't you go wait home? Your father and I will be there soon. As Ellis left, Dr. Waltz turned to David and Christine. I think your son is just going through a little phase of self-discovery. It's quite common at his age. He's experimenting with new things, and that's usually healthy. Christine let out a sigh of relief. Thank you, Dr. Waltz. We were so worried. It's good to know he's just exploring and there's nothing more serious, David said. Oh, by any chance, does he have any access to any prescriptions you may know about? The doctor asked. No, Christine answered, looking toward her husband, who shook his head in agreement. Why do you ask? It's common among his age to experiment with things other than music and friends. You may consider drug testing him, but then again, he's about to graduate. Oh no, Christine said. Do you really think that has something to do with it? Possibly, but I take things more seriously if his behavior worsens. Aside from that, Jason's a good young man. Just support him and give him space to figure things out. He'll be just fine. It's Monday as Ellis paced outside the food court in the Mission Valley Mall when he spots Olivia approaching and waves her over. Hey, thanks for coming, he says, but she looks concerned. What's going on, Jason? You've been acting so weird lately. Meanwhile, Jason sees Alondra arriving and takes a deep breath in before walking over to meet her. Alondra, I'm really glad you came. We need to talk, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. This better be good. You've been acting like a different person, she said, crossing her arms. The two couples walked over to each other and found a table in a quiet corner. Olivia and Alondra exchanged suspicious glances at one another and as well as their boyfriends. Babe, isn't that the same dude you got in a fight with? Olivia whispered. Oh, I remember that bitch, Alondra murmured. Ellis took a deep breath and began. Okay, Alondra, so first, I need you to believe me. She looked at him like he was crazy before saying, Excuse me? Ignoring her, he continued, Look, something crazy happened. She drew back and squinted her eyes. Jason and we switched bodies. What the fuck you talking about? She asked before looking over to Jason, who nodded. Is this a prank? Olivia looked over at Ellis and asked. Nah, it's true. Here, I'll prove it. Remember the time we snuck in the movies? Ellis began after looking back toward Alondra. And you spilled popcorn all over yourself? You could have guessed that, she replied. Okay. Or the time you told me you were scared of spiders, but only when they in the tub? Why you told him that? She said, hitting Jason on the arm. I didn't, he responded, rubbing his arm. Look, he started, looking at Olivia. Remember your favorite spot at the beach? The one with the big rock where you like to sit and watch the sunset? Or the time you told me about you got grounded for shoplifting when you were 8? Oh my God, that's so embarrassing, she said, looking over to Ellis. I hate you, she smiled. Okay, what does this really cause I still got finals to study for? Alondra said. It is what it is, Ellis said. I don't know how else to convince you. She looked at the white boy sitting across the table with skepticism before Jason tapped her on the arm and said, Wait, I got an idea. He got up and tapped Olivia on the arm before saying, Come over here with me. She looked over at the weird black guy who just touched her, then to Ellis, who nodded for her to go. As she arose, Jason said to Ellis, Tell her to ask you anything that you know and I'll do the same. That way they know we couldn't make it up, and Ellis agreed as Jason and Olivia walked a few feet away. Within minutes, the entire food court looked over to the table where Ellis and Alondra sat. Bang! She had smacked the table before saying, I can't fucking believe this. It had obviously worked on both ends because after what seemed like 100 questions, Olivia, once realizing, said, Oh my God, you really are Jason. Once Olivia regained her composure, she and Jason rejoined Ellis and Alondra at the table. Okay, that explains why you've been ghosting my texts. What now? Alondra asked. Me and Jason agreed to keep things non-physical until we figure out how to switch back. It's too weird otherwise. Yeah. the girls agreed. We wanted to tell you before the dinners on Friday and then prom on Saturday, Ellis said. Wait, Olivia began. How are we going to still be able to do that? I'm thinking we go as the real couples, Jason added. But won't that be weird? Olivia asked. I mean, everyone knows we're together, especially our parents. We'll say we broke up, Ellis said. Boy, what your mama gonna say if you bring a white girl home? Alondra asked Ellis, to which he laughed. I mean, unless you want to go to the prom with somebody you don't even know, Ellis replied. That makes sense, Olivia nodded. So I'll go with you, Jason, to the dinner at your house and prom.
And we'll go together, Ellis told Alondra. Wait till you see the house, he smiled.
It was finally Friday, and the boys had taken the finals.
The boys met up at Jason's house to discuss what happened.
Man, I can't believe we made it through that. That shit was brutal, Jason said. For real, Ellis said. I thought I was going to pass out on that calculus shit. Those equations looked like alien writing. Jason laughed, shaking his head. Tell me about it. I completely bombed your Spanish final. I couldn't even remember how to say, "What is your name?" And then during the discussion part, I was lost. And the worst part was when I had to write that essay. I think when she reads that, she might think I'm crazy because I'm sure not a sentence makes sense. Well, at least you try, Ellis smiled. In calculus, I was just writing down numbers. Jason grinned. I'm just glad we had enough credits to graduate. Barely, Ellis laughed. Jason sighed, feeling a mix of relief and exhaustion. I'm just glad it's over. Now we can focus on figuring out how to get out of this before it's too late. The next day, Jason stood outside of Ellis's home, holding Olivia's hand. It was the day before prom, and just as they stepped inside, Vanessa appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. Hey, y'all. Oh, you brought a guest? She asked, her eyes widening, expecting to see Alondra. Olivia smiled, saying, yes. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Sanders. You too, baby. Come on in. Dinner's almost ready. As they walked into the living room, Vanessa gave Jason a quick, curious eye. Curtis looked up from the TV and smiled, before giving a double take and saying, Hey, y'all, with his eyes locked on Olivia. Hi, Olivia waved.
Boy, I didn't know you had a new girlfriend, Curtis whispered to Jason. Got you a snow bunny. If I brought her home when I was your age, boy, I wouldn't have been here to tell you.
He laughed. Jason whispers back, Yeah, I and Alondra broke up. I'll tell you about it later, he said, though he wouldn't. She looked like her folks got money. Better keep her, Curtis joked. The table was laden with fried chicken, collard greens, macaroni and cheese, cornbread, and sweet tea. Jason pulled out a chair for Olivia, who eyed the food with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Hope y'all hungry, Vanessa said. We got plenty to eat. I don't know about this, Olivia whispered to Jason. How many calories do you think this all is? Look, I've had to eat this since I've lived here, but this is the only time you'll have to deal with this, hopefully. Just try it. Some of it is good, though. A lot better than what my parents eat, he replied. So, Olivia, whereabouts you from? Curtis asked. We live in Mission Hills. The Sanders parents gave each other a quick look. Ooh, that's nice, Vanessa said. So, how did you and my son meet? Oh, we, met at a school event. We just hit it off, you know? Olivia hesitated before reaching for a piece of fried chicken. She tried to be polite, taking a delicate bite before her eyes widened as the flavor hit her. She leaned over to Jason and whispered, OMG, this is so greasy. You'll be in the bathroom a minimum of 2 hours, he grinned. Try the greens. I think it's healthier. She took a cautious forkful with her face contorting before she quickly covered her mouth, forcing a smile. What you think? Yo folks cook like this? Curtis asked. Oh, it's delicious, she lied. Never had anything like it, which was the truth.
Curtis chuckled. Hope you got room for seconds.
'Cause we got plenty of food. I think I'm gonna need a sugar detox after this, she told Jason after a sip of sweet tea. Should've recorded this, Curtis whispered to Vanessa.
She agreed. At least with her here, the credit might go up.
Is that your car outside? She turned and asked Olivia.
Oh yeah, my parents got it for me for my 16th birthday, but
I think they'll get another for graduation since that's a few years old. Curtis gasped. Oh, okay, Vanessa replied. Is that a Lexus or BMW? Olivia said. It's really comfortable, but it's time for something different, you know? Curtis and Vanessa glanced at each other before continuing the meal. After the dinner, Vanessa pulled Jason to the side as Olivia spoke with Curtis. Boy, what happened to Alondra?
Now, that girl is the one for you?
Sorry, it just didn't work out, he replied. We weren't compatible. She took a long, hard look at him before asking, Is it the money? 'Cause honey, it's more to life than money. You need you a good woman. She is, and it's not the money. We just are better off together. What is going on with you? First you listening to all this rock music and changing the way you dress and talk, and now you dating a new white girl you didn't tell us about? I didn't think it would be a big deal. Nothing's wrong, I guess I'm just maturing. All I know is that I bet not see no babies, light skin or not. Them white girls fast, remember I told you. You should see the girls I go to school with, Jason thought. Around this time, Ellis had just pulled up in the Tesla to pick up Alondra. She stepped out saying, Oh, it looked like a spaceship. Ellis grinned and opened the door for her. Hop in. Wait till you see how it feels. After the drive, they pulled into Jason's driveway. Ellis noticed something and looked to his right to see Alondra, silent, looking at him.
What?
He asked, chuckling.
Oh, you rich, she said.
Christine almost fell out after greeting them at the door when she saw Alondra and couldn't hide the puzzled look on her face. Oh, Jason, and oh, hello, and who did you bring with you? Ellis looked toward his girlfriend, grabbed her hand and said, This is my girlfriend, Alondra. Nice to meet you, Alondra said, picking up on the vibe. As Christine forced a smile, she welcomed the couple into their home. Go ahead and take a seat, she told Alondra, gesturing to one of the sofas. Oh, honey, she grabbed Ellis. I need to speak with you a minute, and she led him to the study. Once alone, her smile turned to disappointment before saying, Jason, what happened to Olivia? We broke up. Alondra's my new girlfriend. She real cool. Excuse me? When did this happen? Her mother and I are practically sisters now. I mean, she wanted to move on. Oh my God, honey, I'm so sorry, she said, hugging him.
But this new girl, son, she's pretty and all, but she seems a little rough around the edges, don't you think?
You don't want to rush into anything just because it's different, son. I know, we didn't rush. This is what I want. Okay, I understand, she nodded. All right, well, your happiness is what matters to me. Just be careful, she concluded before the two rejoined Alondra. David had just entered from picking up some groceries and was in the kitchen. Honey, Christine called, Jason's home. Come meet his date. David walked out, also unable to hide the shock once seeing the couple before glancing at his wife and then back. Oh, hi, I'm David, Jason's dad, he said, extending his hand. So how are you? He asked after they shook. I'm good, sir.
Nice to be here and meet Jason's parents, Mr. Talbert.
You don't have to call me sir, and please call me David, he replied with a smile, to which she did as well. Alondra wasn't accustomed to not calling adults sir or ma'am, and would take practice. You'll get used to it, Ellis whispered. Soon after this initial greeting, it was finally time to eat. The smell of roasted chicken and fresh vegetables wafted through the air as the golden glow from the chandelier overhead illuminated the large table in which they sat. Would you like some arugula, Alondra? Christine asked. Yes, Ma. Yes, please, she replied, unsure of what that actually was. So, Alondra, where are you from? Christine asked, trying to cast out the awkward silence. Oh, we live in City Heights. Oh, that's nice. Quite different from here, I imagine.
I mean, it's home. What you got planned after graduation? David asked.
I'm going to college, actually. Got a full scholarship to San Diego State. Christine's eyes widened with surprise before she said, Really? That's impressive. That's wonderful, Alondra, David agreed. Congratulations. And your parents, what do they do? Christine asked. My daddy work in construction and my mama been working in a call center for a while. Oh, Christine began. Sounds exciting. And what are you planning to study? Business. I want to help my community by opening my own company one day. That's very admirable, Christine said. You know, Alondra, I think it's great that you're so driven. Most kids nowadays only care about social media, David said. Thank you, Miss David, she replied. So what do you two have planned for after the prom tomorrow? Going to Kelly's? Christine asked. I don't know yet, Ellis responded. Man, I remember that place growing up, David mentioned. After the fire, they really fixed it up. Fire? Ellis asked. Yeah, son. I remember going back in some archives to do a story a few years ago.
It was about tourist destinations in San Diego, and I recommended Kelly's as a go-to in El Cajon.
Well, what I found out was I guess there was a restaurant before then that burned in some accident, but they fixed it up. What? What accident? When was the fire? Ellis perked up and asked. I'm not sure, son. Didn't look too much further into it. Why do you ask?
I was just curious.
As they prepared to leave, Christine pulled Ellis aside once more, saying, Jason, I'm sorry if I seemed harsh earlier. Alondra seems like a wonderful girl. Thanks, I appreciate it, he smiled. It was the day of the prom on Saturday, where Mission High hosted its event at the Del Mar Ballroom. The place was decorated with sparkling lights, streamers, and a grand stage as students mingled, took photos, and danced to the pop music playing over the speakers. Minutes later, Ellis and Alondra arrived. Ellis was dressed in a bright green jacket and pants with a black dress shirt underneath. Alondra, stunning in her matching bright green dress, green nails, and dyed green French braids, walked beside him. Their outfits turned heads immediately, drawing whispers and stares from the other students and teachers.
Meanwhile, City Heights High held their prom in the gym.
Streamers and balloons decorated the room, and the sound of rap and R&B music filled the air. The majority of the students were black or Mexican, while everyone danced and chatted. That's when Jason arrived with Olivia on his arm. She looked around, taking in the small, cramped gym, dodging the girls twerking beside them. The room buzzed with murmurs as the couple made their entrance.
Is that Jason? Who is he with? Why is he with that black girl? Where's Olivia?
Others whispered. And what are they wearing? They look like they stepped out of a neon jungle, another student remarked.
I don't think we have Kool-Aid, someone else joked.
Ellis glanced around, feeling the weight of the stares while Alondra squeezed his hands. I might have to beat a bitch ass tonight, she said. Shit look hella lame, he added. In Del Mar, for comparison, Olivia was also stared at as soon as she entered.
Since when he like white girls, someone asked.
I feel so out of place, Olivia whispered. That makes two of us, but I think we'll be fine, he assured her, and they tried to enjoy themselves. In Del Mar, Ellis and Alondra had already made their way to the floor and begun dancing. It seemed like everyone in the venue stopped to look at them. No wonder, because they were the only ones who seemed to want to dance while the latest K-pop song played in the background.
I'm trying, but I can't with this music.
They need to let me put on my playlist, Alondra said. The two did their best to ignore the techno beats and dance,
even helping some others to alleviate their shyness and go to the dance floor.
In the ballroom was the exact opposite with Jason and Olivia, as they were the only ones standing to the side,
as what seemed like the rest of the whole school dancing between the bleachers and the walls.
Then the couple noticed an angry black girl approach them. Ellis, for real?
Where Alondra at?
A girl named Keisha demanded. We broke up. Sorry, who are you? Jason asked. Oh, now you don't know me, huh? She asked before looking Olivia up and down. No, I'm sorry, I just forgot. It's nothing personal. Oh, so you wasn't just chilling with me and your girl at the movies last month? She asked, getting closer. Oh shit, I'm sorry, he said, taking a step back. It's dark in here, that's why. But what's up?
Nigga, you tell me what's up. Where my friend at?
Oh, she's dating someone else.
For real? Cause she ain't telling me that, she continued, never looking away from Olivia.
So you break up with Alondra and bring a white girl to prom? That's disrespectful. I'm texting Alondra, she said, stepping aside. A few minutes later, she returned saying, All right, my bad. She said it's true, but it's still messed up, Ellis, Keisha said, shaking her head. I get it. We didn't mean to upset anyone, Jason replied. Whatever, she muttered before returning to her friends, who all watched in disgust. The prom continued with students dancing and laughing to the rap and R&B music. I don't know any of these songs, and I definitely can't do that, Olivia said, pointing to a girl bending backward while rolling her body to the floor. Don't feel bad. Picture me doing that. Jason pointed to a group of boys in a dance line as they took turns watching each other's moves. Yeah, I'm athletic and all, but I'm pretty sure I don't know how to break dance. Meanwhile, in Del Mar, even more students picked up on Ellis and Alondra's vibe and joined them on the dance floor. Pretty soon, Alondra was making friends as one of the girls saw her and, after trying to mimic, asked how she made her hips roll like that. Shane saw his best friend and approached him from behind, tapping Ellis on the shoulder. He asked, "Dude, what's going on? Why are you acting so weird? And what the hell are you wearing? And who's that weird black girl you're with? Where's Olivia?" "Oh, we broke up, bro. That's my new girlfriend." "Since when?" "Dude, what the fuck's going on? You didn't even tell me you were here." "Sorry, man. I've been running around all day. But what's up? You having fun?" Yeah, obviously not as much fun as you, going over to the dark side and shit." "Hold up, bruh. What you mean by that?" Ellis asked, leaning in and looking directly at him. "Whatever, man," Shane replied. "Have fun, but you know what they say. Once you go black, you might do crack," he ended, laughing as he backed away and turned around to rejoin their other friends. Ellis, now upset, managed to brush off the encounter and rejoin Alondra on the dance floor. But in Del Mar, Jason and Olivia decided they'd had enough. They made their way to the exit, feeling the stares and whispers follow them. "Let's get out of here," he said. "Thank God. Where do you want to go?" she asked. "How about the beach?" Jason proposed. "Sounds perfect," she smiled. When they arrived to Mission Beach, hardly anyone was there. Jason parked near the shore, and the two got out, still dressed up, and walked as the cool breeze brushed their exposed skin. The sound of the ocean stood in stark contrast to where they had just left. "This is so much better. Thank you," she said, leaning her head on Jason's shoulder. While Jason and Olivia relaxed at the beach, Ellis and Alondra decided to stay at the prom. Ellis had taken over the DJ booth while Alondra danced next to him, along with many others. The students seemed to enjoy the music, and soon the atmosphere was just as vibrant as the gymnasiums. Toward the end, he took his booth back where the DJ got on the mic. "All right, everyone, it's time to announce this year's prom king and queen." Everyone looked around. Some popular couples were already making their way to the stage while Ellis and his girl stood toward the back. "And the winners are," he began, looking around. The crowd hadn't been this silent all night. "Jason and Alondra!" There was a gasp as the couple looked at each other in shock before the crowd erupted in applause. Besides the scowls on the faces of a few students, including Shane, not going unnoticed, everyone seemed happy for them. They made their way to the stage and received their crowns and sashes before raising their hands in triumph. As they exited the stage, Alondra smirked, walking past the other couples. They shared a dance as prom king and queen, surrounded by their classmates who had finally embraced them. The modest office in the back of Kelly's was cramped and cluttered. A small desk overflowing with papers sat against one wall, flanked by filing cabinets and motivational posters that had long since lost their luster. Hank, the restaurant manager and son of the owner, sat slouching behind the desk as he waited for them to speak. Curtis and Vanessa stood in front of him, wondering if this was a good time. They exchanged a quick glance before Curtis began. "Good morning, Hank. We appreciate you taking the time to meet with us." Hank nodded before saying, Yeah, sure. What's on your minds?" "Well, Hank, we've been here for quite a while now, and we've seen a lot of changes," Vanessa started. "We've been dedicated and hardworking, always putting in extra effort. I mean, we've worked here for years. And we've noticed that some of the newer employees are getting raises, even though they haven't been here near as long," Curtis jumped in. "Plus, with the recent increase in the minimum wage, we were expecting to see at least some increase, you know?" Hank leaned back in his chair before replying. "Hey, look, I understand your concerns, but I've spoken to my father about this. He's made it clear that we can't afford to give any raises right now. We're running a tight ship here. You're on salary, but the employees you mentioned had to get paid more because of the increase." "But Hank, we've been loyal employees," she retorted, trying to stay calm. "We work hard and we need to be paid more. Prices are going up and they just raised our rent $300. "I hear you, but it's just not possible right now," he shrugged. "But you're more than welcome to look for something else that pays more. Can even use me as a reference, he smirked. Curtis and Vanessa exchanged a look. They knew finding new jobs together in another restaurant would be difficult, especially in this economy. All right, Hank, we understand. Thank you for your time, Curtis said. Vanessa forced a smile, her voice tight. We'll keep doing our best. After escorting her out, Curtis whispered, I guess we don't have much choice. We need these jobs. I know, it's just so frustrating. We work so hard and it feels like we're not being valued. We'll stick it out for now. Things will get better, baby, Curtis said. Besides, when Ellis go off to college, that's one less mouth to feed. Maybe that new girlfriend will give him some of her daddy money, he laughed. That night, the two boys sat at Jason's house in David's office. All right, let's see if we can find more information about this fire my dad mentioned, Jason said, scanning the screen. There's got to be something in here.
A fire that big would have for sure made the news, Ellis added.
The boys sat for hours, and eventually, Jason's face lit up before turning around and saying,
Hey, I think I got it.
The fire happened exactly on the anniversary of the night we got into that fight. That's too much of a coincidence. Ellis leaned over, reading the article on the screen. 1959. It say the restaurant was owned by a black family. I don't see nothing else, though. Yeah, not a lot of details, he replied as he scrolled. Ellis paced the room. Wait, here's something, Jason said as Ellis stopped to look.
I guess this kid named Melvin Tate got interviewed.
It says that he heard screaming that night. Ellis's eyes widened. You think he's still alive? Maybe he remembered more. Jason shrugged. Depends on how old he was. Only one way to find out. Let's see if we can look him up. Minutes later, they found an address for Melvin and decided to visit him. That evening, they drove to the modest, well-kept house in a quiet neighborhood downtown. Jason knocked on the door, and after a moment, a middle-aged black man opened it. Can I help you? He asked. Jason smiled before saying, Hi. We're working on a school project about local history. We came across some information about a fire in 1959 and saw your father's name mentioned in an article. We were hoping to talk to him if he's available. A school project, huh? What exactly are you researching? We're looking into the fire at the restaurant, sir, Ellis said. The man's name is Melvin Tate Sr. Well, I'm Melvin Jr., he said, squinting his eyes. Your father was interviewed about it, and we thought he might have more information, Ellis continued. Melvin looked up for a moment before saying, My pops is almost 80 now and hasn't been feeling well. He was only 10 when it happened. I doubt he remembered much of anything back then. Even small details could really help our project. It would mean a lot to us. After a moment of consideration, he sighed and said, All right, come in. I'll see if he's up for talking. They were led into a small, dark living room where a frail, elderly man sat in an old, fluffy armchair. His eyes eyed the newcomers as his son introduced them. What can I help y'all with? He asked. Jason stepped forward. Mr. Tate, we're doing a school project about the fire that happened at the restaurant in 1959. You were interviewed about it back then, and we were hoping you could tell us anything you remember. Melvin Sr. leaned back, his eyes glazing over, and began to speak. The fire. Oh, that was a terrible day. Yes, I remember. I was just a boy, but it's something you don't forget. I heard screaming. It was terrible. Do you remember anything else? Anything at all? Ellis asked. Melvin Sr. shook his head slowly. Oh, I remember it all. I ain't never been that scared. The flames looked like they was reaching the sky. See, I was only around about 10 years old. Let me start with what I know about them and how we met. Them was the nicest folks you ever met, he began, leaning back and looking up at the ceiling. Flashback to 1957. Paul and Edith Jones stood in their small home as they looked out to the long dirt road. They had just gotten married and packed up all their belongings. I hope you know what you're doing, baby, she said. California is so far away it might as well be in another country. Yes, honey, he replied, wrapping his arms around her and pulling her close. I want to build something for us, something we can be proud of. You know we can't do that here, not with the way things are. I know, Edith responded, resting her head against his chest. I believe in you, Paul. Wherever you go, that's where I'll be. I know that's right, he smiled. We gonna make it. I promise you that. Days turned into weeks as they traveled from south to west. The couple must have gotten stopped 10 times by nosy law enforcement during the journey. Luckily, they used the Green Book to know businesses that catered to blacks. They arrived in California and was immediately overwhelmed by the beauty of the ocean. I ain't never seen nothing like this, Edith said as they held hands while standing outside the car. When they drove into a small nearby desert town called El Cajon, Paul looked over and said, We're here. This is where we'll make our dream come true. They grew to love the town and its few inhabitants. Although the transition from Georgia to California had been a whirlwind, Paul and Edith, using the money they had saved, rented a modest space on the main street of town, an old vacant building that had seen better days. It's not much, but it's ours, he said, turning to Edith with a grin. Edith smiled back, her eyes sparkling with the same determination that fueled her husband. We'll make it something special, Paul. Just you wait. After weeks of repair, they transformed the dilapidated building into a cozy restaurant. Word spread quickly about the new eatery opening up, and soon every black person in walking distance began to stop by. Within months, their meager beginnings started to flourish. The restaurant, which they named Jones Southern Eats, began to attract customers. The smell of Edith's home-cooked meals wafted down the street, drawing people in. One afternoon, as Paul was manning the grill and Edith was serving customers, a group of white patrons walked in. The room fell silent for a moment and Paul felt a pang of anxiety. But then one of the men stepped forward, smiling warmly. We heard you've got the best food in town, he said. Mind if we give it a try? Paul exchanged a glance with Edith, who nodded. Of course, he said, gesturing to an empty table. Welcome to Jones's Southern Eats. The white customers sat down, and soon the restaurant was buzzing with conversation and laughter again. Although there were still racists in the area, of course, this is still the 50s, remember. This was a stark contrast to anywhere in the South, especially Georgia. That night, as they cleaned up after closing, Paul and Edith reflected on how far they had come. Can you believe it? She said, wiping down a table. We had white customers today. They loved the food. We're making it, honey. We're really making it, he ended, and the two kissed. Well, it wasn't long after that, Melvin continued, that I met them. Oh, it was a hot day. Man, must have been a drought or something, but I felt like I was melting. Well, I never been to the Jones restaurant 'cause I never had no money on me, but I was about 10 years old, and I think my daddy gave me some money. Anyways, I wanted something to drink, and Mr. Paul Place was right up the street from where I was. Paul looked up from behind the counter as Melvin entered. The boy's eyes scanned the menu posted on the wall, settling on a cold glass of lemonade before approaching and pulling a few coins from his pocket. Can I get a lemonade, mister? He asked. 5 cents, Paul said after making and sitting the drink in front of Melvin. Melvin counted out his money before frowning. Sorry, sir, I don't have enough, Melvin said before turning around. Well, wait a minute, Paul began. You done made me make this drink. I can't let it go to waste now. I'm sorry, sir. I's only got 3 cents. 3 cents will do just fine, he smiled, handing the glass over to the boy. Here you go. Thank you, sir, he replied before taking a gulp and quickly finishing the sweet liquid. You sure wasn't lying. You was thirsty, Paul laughed before handing him another glass. But mister, I only got 3 cents, Melvin repeated. Go on and keep it, son. Buy yourself something with it. From that day on, Melvin became a regular visitor to the small establishment. Paul and Edith grew fond of the boy, often giving him little treats and desserts. Melvin would stop by right after school, chatting with the couple while enjoying a slice of pie or a piece of cornbread. As time passed, the restaurant's reputation flourished, and by 1959, Jones's Southern Eats was one of the best-known black establishments in El Cajon. Melvin was now 10 as he entered the restaurant. His face lit up after seeing Paul behind the counter while the aroma of fried chicken and fresh-baked bread filled the air. Hey, Mr. Jones, the boy called out, waving as he approached. Paul looked up, his eyes crinkling with a smile. Well, if it ain't my favorite customer, how's it going, Melvin? I'm good, Mr. Jones. How's Mrs. Jones? He asked, pulling himself up onto a stool. Edith emerged from the kitchen, her round belly a testament to the new life growing inside her. She placed both hands on her back, giving Melvin a warm smile while surveying the restaurant. Hello, Melvin. I'm doing pretty good myself, thank you. How your mama in school? Oh, she good, Miss Jones. And school good too, Melvin replied, scanning desserts. Got any of that pecan pie today? Coming right up, Paul chuckled, slicing a generous piece and placing it on the boy's plate. As Melvin dug into his pie, the restaurant buzzed with the usual crowd as conversation filled the air. Melvin watched Paul and Edith, appreciating the kindness they'd shown him. Within minutes, he finished his sweets. Mr. Jones, Melvin said, smiling as he wiped his mouth. Could I get some ice cream next? You know it. 1 scoop or 2? Paul asked. Just as he was about to answer, the door behind him swung open with a loud creak. A white man stepped inside, his face twisted into a scowl, and the room grew quiet. Ignoring Melvin completely, the man approached the counter, his eyes narrowing at Paul and Edith. Hey, boy, he barked, pointing a finger at Paul. I need to be served. Paul glanced at Melvin and then back at the man before answering. I'm sorry, sir. Let me just finish up his ice cream. Damn that ice cream, he snapped. I said I want to be served now. I understand, sir, but we serve our customers in the order they arrive. I'll be with you shortly. The man slammed his fist on the counter, causing the dishes to rattle. Who the hell do you think you are? You people need to learn your place. At this point, Edith stepped forward and said, We don't tolerate disrespect here, mister. If you can't wait your turn, you're welcome to leave. The man's eyes darted between Paul and Edith. Y'all niggas ain't heard the last of this, he spat before turning around. I'll make sure your asses regret this. With that, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him so hard that the glass shook. Melvin watched while his heart pounding in his chest. He noticed the man climb into a bright red Chevy Bel Air parked outside and leave. Paul let out a slow breath. Sorry about that, Melvin. Now how about that ice cream? He smiled. Melvin nodded, though his mind was still on the man. 2 scoops, please, Mr. Jones. As Paul prepared the ice cream, Edith came over and placed a gentle hand on Melvin's shoulder. Don't let that man scare you, Melvin. There are people like him everywhere, but we won't let them bring us down. Will he come back? The boy asked. Well, we'll deal with it if he does. But right now, let's enjoy some ice cream, okay? She suggested, running her fingers through his hair. It was night, and before long, Melvin was done and left the restaurant as he waved bye to the couple. Get home safe, Melvin, Paul called after him. I will, Mr. Jones, Melvin replied, content. He's a good boy, Edith said, resting her hand on her belly to feel her baby kick. Paul nodded, wrapping his arm around her shoulders. Yep, he is. Seemed pretty smart, too. The sky had darkened as Melvin left Jones's Southern Eats, his belly full. As he walked beside the crickets, the night was quiet. A few minutes in, he heard the roar of engines barreling toward him down the road. He jumped to the side just in time, landing hard on the grass as the cars rushed past. One of the drivers yelled, "Get out the way, nigger," and another honked loudly. The boy's heart pounded as he watched the convoy speed away, but not before noticing the same bright red Chevy Bel Air that the white man had driven earlier. Curious, Melvin turned around and began to walk back toward the restaurant, his pace quickening with every step, and as he got closer, he started to run. Just when he was around the corner, he heard screams. Melvin's legs pumped faster, his breath coming in short, sharp bursts as the smell of smoke hit his nose. His heart sank as the restaurant came into full view. He saw the thick, dark plumes rising into the night sky as the restaurant went up in flames. He arrived just in time to see the white man from earlier and his friends jump into their cars and speed back off. Melvin hid in the bushes as his body trembled. Melvin ran toward the burning restaurant, but there was nothing he could do against the intense heat which pushed him and others back. "Mr. Jones! Mrs. Jones!" he panicked. But the only sound in return was the roar of fire amidst distant fading screams. His eyes widened as he realized the barely recognizable screams were coming from inside. "Help!" he yelled, his voice breaking. Soon, black residents from the surrounding area who also noticed the smoke came running. They tried to fight it, throwing buckets of water and using whatever they could, but there was no use. Melvin stood helplessly, tears streaming down his face as he watched the fire consume the restaurant. The screams from inside grew fainter still until they stopped altogether. The community stood, watching in silence as the building collapsed, sending sparks and embers into the night sky. The morning sun cast a pale light over the remnants of Jones' Southern Eats. The once lively and welcoming restaurant was now a charred ruin, with smoke still rising from the ashes and occasional flames licking at the debris. The smell of burned wood and hate stood suspended in the air. Melvin held his father Thomas's hand, his eyes red with the tears from before. Beside them, Melvin's mother Marcia held on to the two males in her life, trying her best to console the younger. All around them, members of the black community had gathered, their faces etched with grief and anger. Melvin had already told them, and everyone else that would listen, what happened. He spoke of the white man and his friends, of the red Chevy Bel Air, and the subsequent horrifying sight of the fire that had consumed the Joneses' dream. A police officer stood before Thomas and the gathered crowd. His uniform was crisp and his demeanor was cold. "We've investigated," he said, his tone flat. "The men you mentioned all have alibis. There's nothing more we can do for you folks." Thomas tightened his grip on Melvin's hand before saying, "But my boy saw them. He saw them coming and leaving. What will be done?" The officer shrugged before glancing around at all the onlookers. "Like I said, they have alibis. They weren't here. Looks like that boy of yours was wrong." "But I wasn't wrong," Melvin yelled. "I saw them. They were here." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. A few others had seen the cars and heard the yelling right before the fire started. "We know what we saw," one woman said, stepping forward. "We saw those white men too. They were here." "Look, there's nothing more I can do," the officer replied, throwing up his hands. "If you have a problem with that, my advice to you all would be to take it up with someone else. Either that or get the hell out of town," he ended before turning on his heel and walking away, leaving the crowd simmering. Thomas looked at Melvin before kneeling beside his son. "I believe you, son. We all do. But sometimes the truth ain't enough." The boy nodded, tears streaming down his face. He looked back at the smoldering remains of the restaurant before leaving, wondering if his life even mattered. Over time, crowd began to disperse while Melvin stood with his parents, still staring at the ruins, vowing never to forget. Jason and Ellis sat in shock before Melvin said, "There's more to the story." The man who set the fire. I believe his name was Tom Dennison. "Tom Dennison?" Jason asked, writing the name down. "What happened to him?" Melvin again leaned back in his chair as his eyes drifted upward before saying, "Well, that Tom got arrested and went to trial after we kept pushing. Anyway, come trial day, he got let off. An all-white jury, too." Ellis shook his head in disbelief. "So he got away with it?" "Yeah, I suppose he did," Melvin nodded. "Shouldn't have been as much of a shock as it was. Anyway, a little bit after the trial, Tom and his family bought that same land. Can you believe that? And when they rebuilt it, they named it Kelly's. Heard it was supposed to be after one of their kin or something. See, Tom them family had money. He and his wife Katie hated us. I said they should have just stayed in the South. They made the new restaurant whites only, but it ain't stayed that way too long, being about 5 years later everything had to be equal. Civil rights and all that." "So Kelly's is the same restaurant, just under a different name?" Jason asked. "Yep," Melvin replied. "Tom's son, Tom Jr., took over the restaurant in the 90s after his father passed away, but I suppose he about 60 now. Although he still own it, his son Hank run it with his wife Nicole." "That's right," Ellis whispered to Jason. "I know Mr. Hank and Miss Nicole." Turning to Melvin Sr., he asked, "Do they have any kids?" "Yeah, last I done heard, they got a 12-year-old boy named Brock." "Yep, that's them," Ellis thought. "Thank you, Mr. Tate," Jason said. "We really appreciate it." As they left the Tate home, Ellis and Jason felt closer to finding the answer to their dilemma, but there was just one stop they needed to make first. The sun was beginning to set as Ellis and Jason approached Kelly's restaurant. The boys walked up to the front door before glancing at each other, and Ellis pushed it open. When they stepped inside, the last of the staff had just got done cleaning up for the night. Aside from that, the restaurant was empty of customers. Ellis could still smell the lingering scent of fried food and cleaning supplies, glad his parents were already off work. "I called earlier," Jason leaned in and whispered to Ellis, "but the person who answered hung up on me." Before he could respond, a voice shouted from the back, "Close!" The boys looked at each other, and then a moment later, Hank emerged from the kitchen wiping his hands on a towel. "Oh, it's you, Ellis. What's going on? Looking for your parents? You know we're close." Jason took a step forward. "Hey, Hank, we know you're about to close and we don't want any food, but we just need to ask you something. We called earlier." "What do you need to ask?" Hank asked, eyes narrowing. "We're doing a school project and looking into the fire that happened here back at the old restaurant. Like I said, we called earlier, but someone hung up on us." "Well, I don't know anything about a fire. Never heard of it," Hank said. "Please, Mr. Hank," Ellis said. "It's important. Is there any way we can talk to your dad, Tom Dennison Jr.? "He wouldn't know anything about that," Hank responded. "Besides, he's basically retired, so I doubt he'd want to talk to some kids about an imaginary fire." "But sir," Ellis continued, "it's not imaginary. We already spoke to someone that was there and they said—" "I don't give a damn who you spoke to," Hank interrupted. "I just told you that we don't know anything about that." "But," Jason began. "Okay, I think it's time for you two to leave," Hank cut him off. "Y'all have a nice day," he ended. The man stood there staring at the motionless boys who just looked back at him. "All right, if that's how you want it," he continued before turning. When the boys didn't move, Hank stormed back into the kitchen. They heard him rummaging around and looked at each other. A moment later, he returned holding a rifle. Ellis and Jason's eyes widened in fear. "Whoa, okay, we're leaving." "We're leaving," Jason said, backing towards the door with Ellis. Keeping the weapon at the ready, Hank looked at Jason and said, "If I see you boys here again, or if you cause me any more trouble, your parents won't be working here anymore. You think I don't remember you two getting in a fight a couple weeks ago and causing a scene? Now get out." They didn't need to be told twice before turning and jogging out of the restaurant. "Remember what I said," Hank yelled behind them. Finally, they were out of eye and earshot when Ellis asked, hands still shaking, "So what's up now? My folks will kill me if I get them fired." "We'll figure something out. We have to. We'll just have to be more careful. Besides, I've got a plan." The adrenaline from their encounter at Kelly's restaurant had not yet worn off as the teens hurried back to Jason's house. "So what's the plan, bruh?" Ellis asked. "Hank's serious about firing my parents if we keep pushing." "I know, but I think we need to expose the truth, and maybe that's the key to reversing it." "How?" "Hank won't talk, and we can't even go to the restaurant again." "So look," Jason began, "since my dad's the editor every week, I get to write about what's going on. It's usually dedicated to school activities and stuff for young people." "Okay," Ellis said. "Okay, so what if, instead of writing about high school and graduation this week, I use that space to tell the story of the burning?" "You mean publish everything we learn? About the fire and all that?" Jason nodded. "If we expose the truth, it might be enough, and besides, it's the right thing to do. People need to know what happened." "Shit, I'm with it, but we just gotta be careful." Jason pulled out his laptop and began typing, the words flowing as he recounted everything in his notes, starting with the Jones family's journey from Waycross, Georgia to El Cajon, California. He described the night of the fire, the hatred and violence of Tom Dennison and his friends, and acquittal. Jason and Ellis worked late into the night, and as the story took shape, they became more convinced. Finally, Jason leaned back, reading over the article one last time. "I think it's ready," he said. Ellis read over his shoulder, nodding in agreement. Jason saved the document, which would be scheduled for publication the next day. "Let's see what happens," he said. The first light of dawn was breaking over the horizon as Ellis pulled up in the Tesla, parking outside of his home, and waited for Jason, who soon emerged. "Ready?" Jason asked, to which Ellis responded, "Let's do it." Jason nodded, his eyes tired but focused. Yeah, let's do this. Minutes later, they arrived at the San Diego Tribune downtown and made their way to the office of a junior editor, who Jason usually works with. Mr. Thompson looked up from his desk as they entered, his expression curious. Jason, what brings you here so early? Just like I told you, Jason whispered to Ellis. Mr. Thompson, Ellis began, we've got a story we want to submit. It's really important. Oh, and don't mind him. This is my friend. He needed a ride to school. Ellis handed over the printed article, and Mr. Thompson began to read it. As his eyes scanned the pages, his expression shifted from curiosity to surprise and finally to intrigue. This is quite a story, Thompson said, looking up at them. It's controversial, too. Did your dad see this yet? Yeah, he did, Ellis responded, looking away for a minute. Thompson studied them for a moment before nodding. All right, we'll run the article in the paper and on the website. This is going to stir up quite a bit of attention. They were relieved and thanked Thompson before leaving. You really think this shit'll work? Ellis asked on the drive to drop Jason off at school. I hope so, dude. I don't know what else to do. It was now Tuesday morning, and Jason's story was live on the San Diego Tribune's website and circulating in the print edition. The truth about the fire, the history of Jones's Southern Eats, and the Dennison family's involvement had been laid bare for all to see. Because of the article, Jason, or in this case Ellis rather, was even more popular than he had been before, but had no time to enjoy the newfound fame since graduation was Friday. Time was running out. Near the afternoon, Ellis' parents were working their usual shift at Kelly's when they noticed a strange amount of activity outside the building. Reporters and camera crews were setting up on the sidewalk. The couple exchanged a worried glance as they looked outside but continued to work. Curtis and Vanessa, another worker called out. Hank wants to see you in his office. What's going on out there? Curtis asked as the couple entered, shutting the door behind them. Oh, there you are, Hank spun around and said. You want to know what's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. That damn article in the paper this morning is what's going on. What article? Vanessa asked. Hank shoved a copy of the San Diego Tribune toward them. The headline read, Truth Behind the Flames, The Forgotten History of Jones's Southern Eats by Jason Talbert. This is terrible, Hank, but what do we have to do with any of this? Curtis asked. Hank glared at them before answering, Your boy and his friend, the same boy pictured at the top of the article, were just here a day or two ago. I know they had something to do with this. The couple looked at each other before Curtis turned back and said, I'm not sure what this is all about, Mr. Hank. Let us talk to him. No need, Hank said. I don't know what game your son is playing, but I won't have it. The media is here because of this damn story, and it's causing me no end of trouble. Hank, we didn't know anything about this, Curtis reasoned. We're just as surprised as you are, Vanessa added. I don't care. Because of your son, this restaurant is under attack, and because of what happened the other night, I can't trust you anymore. I think it's time for you to leave. Permanently. Vanessa's heart sank. Hank, please, we've been working here for over 10 years. You know we need this job. Well, I need peace and a smoothly run business. You're not welcome here anymore. Both of you. Get out. Curtis and Vanessa stood in stunned silence as Hank's words sank in. The other employees who had been listening outside exchanged uneasy glances. Please, Hank, Curtis pleaded. I'm sure there's something we could fix. Hey, Hank interrupted. The only thing I need you to do is open your ears and use your feet, he ended before pointing to the door. Get out. Now. The Sanders looked at each other before Curtis put his arm around his wife, who was on the verge of tears, and left. But as they stepped outside, the media swarmed around them, cameras flashing and microphones thrust in their faces. Mr. and Mrs. Sanders, can you tell us more about the story? One reporter asked. Is it true that Kelly's was originally a black-owned restaurant? Another shouted. Curtis held up his hands, trying to fend off the barrage of questions. We have no comment, he said, guiding Vanessa through the crowd. After they left, the restaurant closed down for the day, with Hank locking the doors and drawing the blinds, shutting out the curious and prying eyes outside. That evening after Ellis finished school, as soon as he entered the house, he saw Jason's parents waiting for him. "Jason, son, we need to talk now," David stood and said. "Aight," Ellis said, setting aside his backpack. "What's up?" "Oh, Jesus, Jason. Don't play dumb with us. We know about the article you published." "Oh, was there a problem with it?" "I don't know, son. You tell me," David interjected. "Bold claims were made. Why didn't you run it by me first? Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I didn't think it would matter," Ellis said, sitting down. "I mean, we did the research and everything looked true." "It matters, Jason," Christine snapped. "The restaurant is threatening to sue us because the newspaper didn't verify any of the claims. You can't just publish something like that without multiple sources and verification. Do you understand what you've done? The restaurant could cost your father his job and credibility. And since I work there goes mine as well. They've already stopped the printed version of the paper and pulled it from the website, but the damage is done." "It's already viral, son," David said. More excited now than ever, Ellis replied. "But it's all true. I spoke to someone who was there, someone involved. And plus I did research and everything adds up, even the trial." "We?" Christine asked. "Does this have anything to do with that black friend that you've been hanging around? Was this his idea, honey?" she asked, sitting next to him and placing her hand on his. "No, it was both ours. Like I said, we did the research and can prove everything." "Not if they couldn't prove it in court," David said. "You should know that you can't implicate someone in a crime that they have already been acquitted of, dead or not, especially if that person's family owns the restaurant at the center of the controversy. You need several sources, verification from reliable witnesses, not one senior citizen with memory lapses, and lastly, my approval." Ellis looked down before David continued. "You've jeopardized your future as a journalist, my and your mother's integrity at work. Hell, if Hank's family decides to sue, it could cost the paper a lot of money. And you're not allowed at the restaurant anymore," Christine added. "Hank made that very clear." "I did what I thought was right," Ellis repeated as his heart rate grew. "I understand that, son," David took a deep breath and said. "But you went about it the wrong way. You should have come to me first. This is a serious matter, and you've put yourself and this family in a difficult position." "Graduation's in a few days, but I'm sorry, son," Christine began. "You're grounded, Jason. No car, no going out, except for school, until graduation. You need to understand the consequences of your actions." A little later, Jason had gotten off the bus and walked up the steps and toward the apartment's front door. He had received a text from Ellis's mother earlier, and her tone had made it clear that something was very wrong. As he approached the apartment, he saw Curtis and Vanessa standing outside. She had her arms crossed as he paced before noticing Jason walking up. "Hey boy, have you lost your damn mind?" Curtis asked, walking up to the boy before being held back by his wife. What's going on?" Jason asked. "I got the text, but I'm not sure what—" "Why didn't you tell us about seeing Mr. Hank at the restaurant with your friend, the white boy?" Vanessa asked. "And y'all want to be reporters now, huh? And now both me and yo daddy fired because of it." Jason's heart sank. "What? I didn't mean for that to happen. I was just trying to help show the truth." Curtis stepped forward, his voice rising, and said, "Well, your help just cost both us our jobs, Ellis. Now we all unemployed thanks to you. We gonna have to dip in the little savings we got just to get by." "I'm sorry," Jason hung his head. "Is there anything you want me to do?" "You need to go back and apologize to Mr. Hank," Vanessa ordered. "No, I won't apologize," he shook his head firmly. "His family did some pretty messed up stuff and he didn't seem too apologetic." "Boy, I know you ain't just tell your mama no," Curtis got in his face and said. "Hanging around them white folks way too damn much." "Do you understand what you're saying?" Vanessa asked, stepping between them. "This ain't just about you. This affects all of us. We can't afford to be jobless." "I understand that, but I can't just ignore what happened," Jason said. "All right, well, check this out," Curtis began, moving Vanessa out of the way. "Since you want to be grown. But let me tell you this, son. Until you graduate on Friday, you ain't leaving to go nowhere but school and back. That mean no parties, no white girlfriend, no black girlfriend, no nothing. And hey, once your ass graduate, you out the same day. You lucky you graduate on Friday, because if it was any more than that, I'd kick your ass out anyway. Hopefully it won't come to that, Jason thought. Listen, honey, Vanessa began. We don't have a choice, Ellis. We need stability. And right now you're causing too much disruption. We love you, but we can't keep going on like this. You got a few days to figure that out where the hell you moving to, Curtis said. Now get your ass inside and go to your room. We need to discuss our next steps. The boys skipped class on Wednesday, the next day, to meet up and talk. I really thought the article would work and we'd be back in our own bodies, Jason said.
Shit, me too. And now both our parents the ops.
Actually, that's another reason I wanted to meet up. So I did some more research using my dad's computer and found out something. Ellis waited for the answer before finally saying, What?
Dude, the original opening of the old restaurant is on the same day we graduate.
What if we go back to the restaurant tomorrow night? Say midnight? Maybe being there on the anniversary will reverse the spell. Ellis's eyes widened. Yeah, but we both can't leave the house, he responded. Plus, I ain't got no car, and that hoe Hank banned us from the restaurant. Still can't believe he fired my folks.
Only thing good about it is I ain't got to be the one to deal with them. At least not yet.
I know, but we can't just give up. We need to sneak out tomorrow night. That's the only thing left I could think of. What if we get caught? The worst that could happen is they kick us out the house before we graduate, Jason answered. But who cares as long as we're back in each other's bodies, and us getting caught is the last thing I'm worried about, honestly. I've got plans after high school. Ellis hesitated, then nodded slowly. We both do. Bet I'm down. How we doing this? Jason pulled out a piece of paper and started sketching a rough plan. We'll have to wait until our parents are asleep. I'll sneak out of your house and meet you at my place. From there, we can just Uber to the restaurant. The boys spent the rest of the afternoon discussing the details, planning each step, and soon it was Thursday night. Ellis lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The house was quiet, the Talberts long asleep. He glanced at the clock, 11:45 p.m. It was almost time and was raining hard. Silently, he got up and dressed in dark clothing. He carefully opened his window, easing himself out and onto the ground below. He looked around, and Jason, who was also dressed in dark clothes, waiting nearby.
Ready? I'm drenched, Jason asked. Hell yeah, Ellis responded.
After getting out of the Uber, they reached the back of the restaurant and found a spot to hide. Yo, you really think this shit gonna work? Ellis whispered. Bro, graduation is tomorrow. It has to. The boys moved cautiously, circling the restaurant to ensure no one was around. The parking lot was empty, and there were no signs of life inside. Ellis, glancing at Jason, said, Aight, we good. Let's do it. They stood in front, rain pouring down on them, their clothes soaked through. The teens took a deep breath, looked each other in the eye, and shook hands, hoping against hope that the magic would work. But nothing happened. They stood there, still in each other's bodies, the realization sinking in. Bro, what the fuck? Ellis whispered. I don't know, Jason replied, on the verge of tears. Maybe we're missing something. As they contemplated, a noise made them both freeze and go silent. The sound of footsteps splashing through puddles reached their ears, followed by a familiar voice. Hey, what the hell are you doing here? It was Officer Wheeler, his flashlight cutting through the darkness as he came upon them. They panicked and, without thinking, bolted, running away from the restaurant and into the nearby woods before Wheeler gave chase. He tried his best and shouted after them, but the rain and mud made it difficult to see or move for that matter, causing him to trip twice. After running and slipping, Ellis and Jason stumbled into a ditch, hidden from view by the overgrowth.
Soon, they could hear Wheeler's footsteps as the beam of the flashlight swept through the trees.
Out of breath, Ellis and Jason huddled in the ditch while the sky fell around them. Where he at? Ellis whispered. Jason shook his head. I don't know. Let's just stay quiet. The minutes stretched into what felt like hours as they lay there, waiting for the danger to pass. Unable to fight it any longer, the boys' eyes grew heavy, and one by one, they drifted off to sleep in the muddy ditch while the storm continued to rage on. The bright sun pulled open their eyes, warming their still wet bodies. They blinked against the light, disoriented but immediately aware that something felt different. Ellis sat up first and looked around the ditch. His body felt familiar. Oh shit, he was back! He glanced at Jason, who was also stirring as the realization dawned on both. Hell yeah, Ellis exclaimed in disbelief. Jason looked down at his hands and flexed his fingers. It worked. I knew it, he yelled as both jumped around and hugged with no care to how dirty they were. Bro, we did it, Ellis said, shaking his head. I was starting to think it was permanent. I can't believe that shit worked. Me neither, Jason replied, his smile wide. Wait, what? My phone's dead. Fuck, dude, we graduate today. What time is it? Damn, my shit dead too, Ellis said after checking. We gotta get home, he ended, and they made their way out of the woods and back to the main road. After a short walk, they called an Uber and shared the ride, first to Jason's home. The ride was quiet, each of them lost in their thoughts. Luckily, it was still pretty early, and they had more than enough time to make it to their graduations. As soon as he got out, Jason turned to Ellis. Well, we did it, bro. I'll hit you up later. Now, guess I gotta deal with my parents. Me too. At least we're back where we belong. I'm gonna miss this place, Ellis responded before leaving the mini mansion. After arriving, Ellis walked through the front door. Curtis and Vanessa, enraged, were waiting. Boy, you better be glad you graduating today, Curtis said. That just solidified my decision. As soon as that ceremony over, you need to be going by tonight. I don't know why it's so hard for you to follow simple instructions all of a sudden, Vanessa mentioned. Mom, Dad, I didn't mean to get you fired. I'm sorry I've been acting weird lately. I apologize. I just had to take care of something last night. I'll be going by tonight like you said, he ended, looking at Curtis. The Sanders couple looked at each other before turning back to their son. All right, Curtis began. Get dressed. We gotta be there in an hour. And Vanessa hugged her son. And wash your ass. You look like you took a mud bath in your clothes, he ended. As Ellis walked to his room, he saw Kyrie and gave him a huge, long hug. What's that for? His brother asked. I just missed you, bro, Ellis said with tears in his eyes. Is this because Mama and Daddy mad at you? No, Ellis laughed and hugged him again. Meanwhile, at the Talbert residence, David and Christine waited in the living room as Jason walked in. Jason, where the hell have you been? David demanded. And why are you so dirty? Oh, their son began, after looking over himself. Look, Dad, I had a really rough night, really bad couple of weeks to be honest, and I'm so sorry for the article stuff. I know that doesn't fix anything, but it was just something I felt like we needed to do. Well, you're right, son. That fixes nothing. But it's a start. Still doesn't explain why you went out after we told you not to. Honey, Christine began, taking a hold of her son's shoulders. It's his big day. Let him have it. David paused before saying, well, all right. We'll discuss it when we get back. And you'll get your car keys later. Maybe, he ended. As he got ready to shower, his dog came rushing up to him, barking and wagging his tail. Jason knelt down, ruffling his fur as Julius licked his face, clearly recognizing that his real owner was back. Hey, I missed you too, buddy, Jason said, smiling as they hugged. Jason tried his best to ignore the droplets of pee that his excited companion had left. About a week after graduation, David and Christine invited Ellis's family via text from Jason to a restaurant with them. Luckily, Ellis hadn't been kicked out yet, as his dad gave him a week after graduation to decide where he wanted to move, while they continued to look for a job. Ellis and his family arrived first as Curtis and Vanessa looked around. Wow, this place is nice, Curtis observed while Kyrie bounced excitedly beside them. Look, son, he leaned to Ellis and began. I know your graduation was big for you, and I'm very proud. I know I didn't say too much before. I was upset that day, but now I like to let you know. Thanks, Dad, he smiled. And I and your mother spoke about it earlier and decided that you don't have to leave this week. But within a month, we just can't provide for 4 people with no job. I understand, Dad, he replied, feeling guilty. David and Christine arrived shortly after, greeting the Sanders and the 2 families gathered inside. They were seated at a large table near the back, where a golden chandelier hung above. "This place looks expensive," Vanessa whispered to Curtis. "They invited us. I hope they don't think we paying," he replied. "Firstly, I wanted to thank you all for coming," David began. "The reason I invited you here is because we have some important news to share." Jason, standing beside his father, nodded in agreement. Curtis and Vanessa exchanged glances. "What is it?" Curtis asked. "Jason and I bought the restaurant from Hank's family. They've decided to drop the lawsuit, and we were able to get the place for a low price thanks to the negative press and the boycott." Ellis's parents gasped. "Wait, what? You bought the restaurant?" Vanessa exclaimed, her eyes widening. Yes, ma'am," Jason answered.
"I'll be damned," Curtis blurted.
"Well, let us know if you need any workers," Vanessa said. "We've been looking." "Ah, yes," David said. "My son told me all about it. The thing is, we don't need workers as much as managers." The Sanders looked at each other curiously. "We want you two to run it," Christine clarified. "We know how much that place means to you, and you'll be paid much more than before." After a few moments of silence. "So?" Christine asked. Vanessa tapped Curtis under the table on the knee as if she was trying to snap him out of the shock. "Oh, we'd be honored," Curtis said, as his voice choked. "Thank you so much. This means everything to us." Vanessa nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "We can't thank you enough. This is a dream come true." David smiled. "We thought it was the right thing to do, and we'd like to name the restaurant after the two young men who started all of this, Ellis and Jason. So we're calling it E&J. "Ooh, people are going to think it's a bar," Vanessa whispered. "Quiet, baby. We'll deal with that later," Curtis responded. "That's perfect," Ellis said, looking at Jason. "Thank you." As the family celebrated their new venture, Jason knelt down to whisper to Kyrie. "Hey, Kyrie, I know about the games you bought using my credit card." Kyrie's eyes widened, but before he could respond, Jason smiled, saying, "It's okay. Just don't do it again without asking, all right?" "Okay, I promise," he nodded, relieved. "Just a minute, please," Ellis turned and called to his parents who were waiting in the car. Turning back to Jason, he said, "Well, hey, bro, this was crazy, but we gotta stay in touch." "Yeah, well, I was thinking about seeing the movies tomorrow night with Olivia if you and Alondra want to go." "Yeah, you pick us up?" Ellis asked. "I gotta ride in that whip again." "No," Jason replied, revealing no emotion. Ellis looked at Jason as the awkward silence grew before Jason pulled out a pair of car keys from his pocket. "Now you won't have to," Jason said, handing over the keys to Ellis. "Bruh, be for real," Ellis said, looking at them closely. "I am. It's the white BMW in the parking lot," Jason replied. Ellis's jaw dropped. "When my dad heard you didn't have a car, he decided you need a graduation gift. I mean, it's not a Tesla or anything, but..." Jason smiled. "I'll see you when you get home," Vanessa, smiling, yelled from the passenger seat as they drove off. David had asked if it was all right earlier. It was his old car and he planned to sell it, but thought this would be better. Jason would go on to become an award-winning journalist, dying at the age of 82. Ellis would change his preferred major to political science and would go on to be mayor of San Diego. Although dying 5 years earlier than Jason, Ellis and he would remain close friends until his death. Half of that statement is also true for their wives Alondra and Olivia.